All righty, we are live. We are live. We are live. Hopefully, the audio is coming through good and all. So I quickly check that. And how audio is indeed coming through. Wunderbar. All right. Well, good morning, good evening, good day to all of you, and welcome to Camille's Harem, a channel for novice authors by novice authors. And because writing is an adventure, it's way more fun with friends. And welcome along for this installment on one of our many live streams. Hello, Arts. Great to have you here, and looking forward to everyone else who will join me for this. All righty. So for this live stream, and I know I'm going to have to repeat myself again for other people later on, but that's okay. Today I'm going to have some fun introducing you guys to the work that I've been doing so far this month for Whitefire. It is my goal next year to have the entire first draft of Whitefire, all 350,000 to 400,000 words written by the end of next year. In order to do that, I have to make sure that all of my world building and all of my plot work, character work, everything like that is on point. So that's something I've been doing while I've been working on all of my other books, as well as just doing stuff here on YouTube. When I have the chance, I am also finishing up all of the world building for Whitefire. And thank you, Arts. I love the title Whitefire, and it makes me worry that like any other book in the series is just not going to sound as cool. So I'm going to have to work on that, because it's meant to be the start to a 6-book series. Say right after doing something like the Legend of the Ten Lords, which is also a 10-book, but not 10-book. Ooh, that'd be a lot. Another 6-book series. Blue Fire was the prequel everyone had mixed feelings about. As well they should. Actually, funny enough, the prequel that I'd never intended to write for Whitefire is Tumblteller. So Tumblteller is the prequel I never expected to write, and I've been working on the sequel to Tumblteller. So it's kind of like now a little mini series of prequels, not sequels, prequels. So I'm working on the sequel to the prequel, which is itself is a prequel to to Whitefire. There you go. Make everyone feel very confused. So I want to introduce you guys to some stuff about Whitefire, as well as follow up on the writing lesson that Scott and I posted yesterday, where we talk about how to take your ideas and begin transforming them into stories. And there's just so much to be said about that. And I think I can also kind of just add, like, again, more, add some more examples, some more personal experience in that regard to kind of help shine a light on things that people might, problems that people might run into when it comes to writing their own stories, questions that they might have, maybe some solutions, some fears, advice, so forth. But also, in terms of dragons, I want to introduce you guys to a new story it's not exactly a new story. It's new to me. And I binged it all like in a weekend, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm Omega's going to be upset with me that I haven't yet finished No Evil, but I caught up on this thing. And also to follow up with Mr. Beast, because I shared with y'all a few weeks back, actually more than a few weeks back, it's been a little bit more than a month now, I believe, that Mr. Beast came to where I work over at Biosphere 2. And now that the video from Mr. Beast in regards to Biosphere 2 has been released, I've had the chance to watch it, and I'm all like, it's kind of funny because like everyone that I work with all had thoughts about what we saw, and for me, like watching it, I'm like, Like, this guy didn't even get to some of the best parts of Biosphere 2, nor how ridiculous some things are. So like, I can not only can I do kind of, again, follow up with the quote unquote tell all of what happened with Mr. Beast now more than a month ago over at Biosphere 2, but I can also add context that he is seriously lacking. I just thought, hey, where am I in the video? Oh, I knew where I was. I knew where I was in that video. I was way out of the way because I'm not going to mess around with these people's production. They were already having trouble enough as it was. So I think that because I did put that in as a little bit of clickbait in a post today, I think I'll tackle the Mr. Beast video first, and then we can then just have fun following up with the writing lesson from this week, as well as talking about dragons and Whitefire. I will say this: I'm going to try to not go too long tonight, just because, as you have heard, I still have the cough, and earlier this week I really had a hard time. I actually kind of lost my voice for a little bit, as well as I tried out some new medicine in hopes that it would help, and I lost an entire day to loopiness. It was bad. So, yeah, that's why I'm intending to not go too late tonight. So all that preamble, yeah, that is an oof, a big oof. With that preamble on out of the way, let me set the table and set the scene for talking about Mr. Beast at Biosphere 2. What we were all led to believe over at Biosphere 2 was that Mr. Beast was intending to highlight Biosphere 2. That was everyone's assumption. Turns out that's not the case. Biosphere 2 was just part of one of his many different looks into the science of now, paving the way for the future. And of course, there's a lot of editing that goes into this, and there was also a specific message, a very vague message, if I'm going to be all honest, that he was trying to get across, of like how $1 becomes $1 billion, which will get us to Mars and into the future. If it were me looking at the stuff that he was doing, I'd say, look, here's all of this amazing work that people are doing right now to pave the way for us going into the future. The future is now, is probably how I would have done it. Anyways, there is a distinct narrative that Mr. Beast was trying to get across, that thanks to, for instance, the new technologies that are being worked on, and specifically something like the biosphere, as a result of that, we are well on our way to colonizing Mars. And I have the facts about what's going on there at the biosphere. And I'm sorry, Mr. Jimmy, but I'm going to have to burst your bubble a little. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you've had some trouble with compressed nerves lately. Oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that, Arts. That's rough. I hope that you're getting some good medical treatment for that, because woof. And Lucid Star Mella's here. Great to have you here, Lucid Star. Try to make sure I don't slur my words. Hello. All right, you got here just in time for us to hop on over to this Mr. Beast video. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, stop, talk over, or point out things that really are probably of more interest than just Mr. Beast being all like, woohoo, plants, stuff, Mars, feastables. So, here we go. I'm going to share the screen. And we're going to do the entire screen. We're going to do audio as well. All right. The eternal swirl is here. Okay. So, that is a horribly filtered image of where I work. Biosphere 2. Let me already lay out some stuff. So, like, as I said, I know where I was working, or where I was while they were doing this whole shoot. If you can see on my mouse, so there's all of these weird half dome structures right here. This is where there are 3 fake hills that the biosphere is right now doing experiments with to test what happens when it rains in a controlled environment, what it does in terms of gases, as well as mapping out flows of underground water. Surprisingly, something that's not actually been conducted a whole lot in real world environments. Low key, it is the very first steps towards terraforming Mars. Like, that's the end goal. But seriously, like, this is the very first baby step. So the idea of, hey, we're going to Mars in 50 years. Oh no. According to the biosphere, we are still like 200, 300 years away from getting anywhere near colonizing Mars. So where I was at the furthest half dome way there. Behind that is where I work. I mean, I actually work all throughout this structure, but that is normally where I am posted. So I didn't get to see Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast was supposedly, and I have a hard time believing this just because of safety reasons, that he and his buddies were all hanging out on top.
$1 billion biosphere,
which is literally the blueprint for what human life will be.
See, when I just see this, it screams fake to me. It really screams fake to me. I mean, they might have been up there, but considering that we were told that Mr. Beast was only there for 2 hours, and considering that there's going to be several takes, and I know how big this place is and all the different biomes that they went to, like, this would mean that the guy showed up, literally jumped into that suit, and they began shooting immediately. I highly, highly doubt that. So I just don't know. It's possible. It's possible they climbed up there, but I didn't hear anything about them actually going up on top of the roof of Biosphere 2. And again, he was only supposedly there for about 2 hours. So it's just, I have a hard time swallowing that, because I know how long it takes to get into these kinds of suits. And also, it takes a while to get up onto here. Furthermore, another thing that kind of clues me into the fact that this might not have been totally real, this particular shot, is that if I actually pull it back just a wee bit. Okay, let me see if I can catch it.
Bringing us to this $500 million.
Okay, it's a little bit blurry. So it's kind of hard to see. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, no, I am almost now more positive this is fake, because around the time that they would have come to shoot this, there was actually a tree that was growing outside of the biome, outside of the rainforest biome, that had to then be sheared back. It was growing out literally right here at the edge. So, I mean, anyways, maybe they were actually up there. I don't know. It just, again, only 2 hours. This is a huge place. Lots of stuff to do. I don't see it happening. But anyways, Mr. Beast was indeed there, and I stayed out of his way because I am not one of those kinds of tourists who walks onto a movie set. I did work with his manager and with some other people to get them connected to the Wi-Fi while they were all sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for him to show up. Oh boy. So, let's continue on.
Which is literally the blueprint for what human life will be like on other planets. Let's go be Martians for a day, boys. Woo!
Let's do it. Because this exact biosphere could be our...
All right. So this exact biosphere could be our future home on Mars. I am going to immediately burst Mr. Beast's bubble by telling him and everyone else that no, this is not our future home on Mars. It won't even look close to this. The way we actually know this is because so Biosphere 2 was built as this gaudy experiment to see if people could live effectively in a well-maintained greenhouse for 2 years, living off of everything that could only be supplied within this structure. So all of their water, all of their air had to be produced or contained inside of this structure. So it's built actually on top of a well, so that way they could pull as much water as they needed. But otherwise, it was completely airtight sealed, and they could only subsist off the oxygen provided by the plants inside of the biosphere. After 2 years, nearly everyone in the biosphere lost 80 pounds. Well, or not quite 80 pounds. That's a little bit too much because that would kill them. But they lost a ton. A couple of people were getting really, really close to actually going anemic and dying. They were all slowly going insane. And they actually had oxygen deprivation because in order to have enough oxygen to live on any planet, you actually need loads of plants. Way more plants than what the biosphere could actually stuff into it. On top of that, in order to make everything function properly, they needed electricity, which was pumped to them from other sources that were not generated within the biosphere. So this would be absolutely unfeasible to use on Mars. And Art says, hello, what did I miss? You missed the introduction about what we're going to talk about and my brief setting of the table for Mr. Beast being at Biosphere 2 and how this video is actually misleading about Biosphere 2. Plan 1, make oxygen. Yeah, you need to have so many plants in order to produce oxygen. And so for Mars, which doesn't have a whole bunch of plants, we would need loads of these biospheres in order to create an environment that would allow us to have enough oxygen to begin pumping into the planet, which would take freaking forever. It's so unfeasible. And on top of that, where are we going to get the energy to supply to power these places? And you have to get good water, good drinkable water, and water for the plants. It's a nightmare. Dorcas J. Dream says, Susie Dragon parallels? You know what? We can absolutely talk about that when we get to the dragons bit, Dorcas J. Dreams. I would love to talk about that. So yeah, this is not our future home on Mars. Not even close. It is a successfully failed experiment that I happen to continue working at. So we have all these different biomes, and then we got them getting sealed in. Now, I'm going to turn the audio back on here for a little bit, let him then talk. So funny thing is this. What you see to the right of them, that is the kitchen area where the scientists who were sealed in for Biosphere for 2 years actually stayed and where they ate, where they prepared their meals. That's all real. These days, however, back then, they had no way of getting out of there except to go through these doors and over to their living quarters way, way in the back. These days, if you go and visit Biosphere 2, they actually cut out a massive hole in the wall and built a bridge. So that way you walk directly into here to begin part of a tour. So all cool, fun stuff. The cameraman is right at a balcony that overlooks the ocean, the ocean that is built into the biosphere. I don't see a little bit more of that.
Sealed inside the biosphere, which means we can take these suits off. Okay, just gentle on the nose. Okay. Oh, good.
Man, the jokes that are meant for little 5 to 8 year olds. Oh my gosh, he yelled, but he's smiling. Yay. Mommy, can I buy some Feastables?
Yes. Okay. Well, being an astronaut is way harder than you think.
It's
It
time to
absolutely
begin our
is.
First day as Martians. While we're not actually on Mars yet, this biosphere could save humanity if Earth becomes uninhabitable.
Again, no, it can't. You want to save Earth? Actually save the Earth. The biosphere does not have the capacity to actually help save humanity. But, fun thing though, there are experiments actually right now being done at the biosphere that could. There's no guarantee, unfortunately, but that could yield some very beneficial results for humanity. For instance, pollution and warming of the oceans have caused many of the great reefs to start deteriorating, to die. And so right now at the biosphere, there's research being conducted on how we can basically bioengineer new reefs to introduce to the current reefs that would then help to like build back what's been lost and sustain them in a severe environment. That is legitimately something that's right now being worked on. That's pretty cool. As well as work that's being done in order to better understand the effects of drought on rainforest systems, and just better understanding how we can utilize water, which is kind of funny because this place uses so much water, but everything here is rigged to basically funnel the water back into the well. And so we also have a facility. It's the area now shrouded in darkness. You must never go there, Simba. Over here, where we actually are also testing the effects of constantly reusing water again and again and again. So it's nothing really big and glamorous, but again, it's the very first steps towards figuring out how we would eventually terraform another planet such as Mars, while also conducting immediate experiments to try to save our own planet right now. So, biosphere is not where we're going to go to be saved, but biosphere is a place where people are right now working on solutions to very real problems. Art says, I stopped watching The Beast after all the drama about him. Oh, yeah. You know, funny enough, the whole drama was probably the most I ever got of Mr. Beast. He's just never appealed to me. I says, I hear the amount of seagrass in the ocean is enough to continue to provide the Earth with oxygen, even if all the forests disappear. Yes, the ocean is our oxygen machine. You need a healthy ocean in order to live on a planet such as ours, which is why we need to take care of the ocean. Hence, again, making sure that the reefs are taken care of, because the reefs help to prevent the tides from ripping apart really fertile areas in the ocean, especially in more shallow areas where a lot of this plant life exists. That helps to generate the oxygen for our planets, as well as provide us with all the tasty fish, unless you don't like fish. All right, so continuing on.
This biosphere has everything needed to sustain human life. Even a girlfriend for me? It's a biosphere, not God.
However, no, never mind. I will not go with that joke. Yeah, yes. Don't come to the biosphere expecting to find a girlfriend. So.
Can't pull off miracles. This place also has 5 different biomes, much like Minecraft, and I want to take you to one of the cooler ones, a rainforest.
Okay,
you guys realize,
I'm just going to say this.
Have been living in here,
this guy,
for over 30 years.
This guy doesn't even get to the coolest parts of the rainforest, and I shall point some of the stuff out to you. Okay, so cool stuff number one. Over these guys' shoulder, you can see an open construction-ish area. That is actually an elevator that helps us to move really heavy equipment from the basement area on up into the rainforest. What is down there is downright horrifying. We have ancient vats filled with who knows what. You have hordes of cockroaches. There are tunnels that kind of lead off to nowhere. We have massive massive machines that are meant to pump out wind, so you can actually fill this entire place and basically simulate a storm right here with the stuff that's just behind these dudes. And it is absolutely nutty and freaky. On top of that, they don't go to this, but above them, up this fake mountain is a koi pond. You can go, and you can see all of these koi fish just everywhere. It's quite something. And the koi are ravenous. Holy cow, you show up and suddenly they're just all like, yes, we will eat anything you give us, master. Hello, Nightmare. Hey, Lars, you could write a good horror story with that. Oh, I'm just going to tell you this. I intend to. The choose your own horror adventure story for this year, for 2026, will be set in a parody version of the Biosphere. And I am going full parody hog on a lot of the weird shenaniganery that goes on kind of behind the scenes, like politically, while also setting up basically an absolute brilliant horror fest of going into this place to rescue a research team. And it's going to be wonderful. It's basic. The way I'm envisioning it, telling the story, is it's going to be like Ghostbusters meets Alien, and that's what I'm going to bring together for this particular story. Also, I know this is looking way forward into the future, but this year I'm also going to play test an idea for the Choose Your Own Adventure horror story in 2027, which will be a monsters prom. And that one is going to be a whodunit murder mystery, choose your own horror adventure story. I'm so looking forward to that stuff. How did you get to work in such a wondrous Willy Wonka's factory, Lars? I got the offer to work here at the Biosphere, thanks to a guy that I know at church. They needed temporary workers. And so he's like, hey, so I know that you're right now out of work. And I'm like, yes and no. I'm right now a full-time author and YouTuber. Please give me a job. And so I applied and I got the job. Mimic is here. It's been such a long time. Hey there, Camille's Harem. Hi there, Mr. Lars and friends. Long time no see. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. And may everyone have a wonderful 2026. God bless. Hey, great to have you here. Okay, so continuing on. So koi fish above them. They don't get to see the koi. Absolute horror fest right behind them and below them. They don't know this. Also, just behind Mr. Beast is a massive collection of roaches in a box that is just, I hate having to go and open that thing. I've had to go into that thing numerous times to check wires. I hate cockroaches. I hate having to open that box. I hate having to go into the rainforest area. These guys have no idea just how many creepy crawlies are all around them. So, yeah. I bet if you told these guys, whether they're play acting or not, that they are just one step away from like sinking into mud and being assaulted by all kinds of bugs, they probably would not think that this place is really cool. All right. Bring back the audio.
Rain. It's literally raining in here. I told him to only have it rain on the left side of the Biosphere, which is why I'm dry and you guys are getting wet. Are you?
Okay. I'm already going to call some BS on what's happening right here. I have no doubt that he has a shield over his head in order to prevent him from getting wet. Because I work in this place, and I have seen what happens when they make it rain only in certain areas, even when it's raining over in a certain area, because there's so many trees. They move water. So the water travels along all the branches, all the leaves, And so you can actually be like a good decent 10, 15 feet away from where it's actually raining and still have raindrops hitting you because of how the rain travels across the trees. So we can do that. We can make it rain in one area of the rainforest and make it dry on the other. But because, again, of how the trees are, the network of the canopy, I guarantee that Mr. Beast, in order to not get wet, had something over his head. I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't have it and didn't get wet. Hey, we got Sir Bianxiro. Woo, sorry, I've absolutely mispronounced that. What's up? Rubens is back. Hey, Rubens, it's great to have you back. Woohoo! Mick says, I made it through the craziness of 2025 alive and well. Thank goodness. Yeah, great to have you back once again. When I was on the Atlantic forest, kind of a jungle, it was so damn wet that when it rained, it made me want to rip my head off. I can believe that. Oh my gosh, just the humidity. One day I came to work, I randomly saw a Flowey pushing in a flower cup, looking straight at me. I was taken off guard, and this guy was like, what's wrong? And I tell him I was just surprised and walked off. First time I've seen an Undertale plushie at my place of work. That is awesome. go back and be like, Flowey, I know your secrets. I know what you're really after.
Are you getting a little cold?
Yeah, it's freezing.
Oh, here, come on the non-raining half.
It is not freezing. It is never freezing in that rainforest.
That's what this biosphere is. It's your own mini Earth.
Even when we blow wind into that rainforest, it is so stinking warm in there that you cannot get cold. So let me give you an idea of things. Again, pulling it on back is like, oh, I'm getting cold. You wimp. Where do you live? Lake Havasu? So, massive greenhouse pyramid. They're in a massive pyramid that's the greenhouse thing. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the plumbing, on the trees. There's lots of wires for all of our electronic equipment and the likes. And people, in order to get there, have to climb. They have to do kind of like a spider climb up the rigging. It's pretty dangerous, actually. And the most dangerous thing is not just how slippery the metal is that they're climbing on, because they've got plenty of harnesses and security devices that allow them to not drop to their deaths when they're climbing up the rigging. But it gets so warm in there, and heat rises. In this massive rainforest pyramid, it gets stinking hot up at the top. And so whenever work needs to be done in the rainforest, especially up high, the scientists have to go really, really early in the day. They have to go at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to get started, so that way they're not getting wiped out by the sun when the sun rises. And when winter hits, so when it gets really cold, that's when they're doing as much work as possible, because the rainforest finally becomes tolerable to work in. For anyone who works in the rainforest area, they're always carrying tons of water because of just how much you're sweating in there. So him saying it's cold, you're in the rainforest. You're in a massive greenhouse. You're not going to feel cold. The only time it has ever been cold in that area was one time there was actually a burst in the water pipes, and it happened at the exact same time that they were simulating a cool down in the desert area, and it created a chill factor throughout the entire place. That is the only time it's happened, and because that was a mistake. Ruben says, honestly, where I live at, it's hot as hell, 34 degrees at normal, but in the jungle, it's actually chaotic. When it's summer, that place is uninhabitable. But when it's winter, it's very cold. Very interesting. Very interesting. Again, I have been there for nearly a year. There's only been one day where it was cold, and that was a fluke. That was actually a mistake. It was not supposed to be cold. It was technical difficulties. That place has never been cold. All right. So, man, why does my mouse keep doing that? All right, here we go.
That's what this biosphere is. It's your own mini Earth that you can put on any planet in the solar system.
Yeah,
no. World, there isn't just rainforest. Now we're going to head over to the savannah. The savannah biome.
Okay, actually, this particular area is kind of cool, especially if you do the tour, because it's a really, really long walkway where you can see all of these plants that have been set up, and there you can also look down into the swamplands and into the ocean area. You get this really, really cool panoramic view that you can then walk through, and it's also one of the cooler indoor areas that you can walk through.
Head over to the savanna. The savanna biome is the ideal climate for growing food, which is why it's arguably the most important of the 5. These are
now all of
peppers,
these plants, they are all there. They can be eaten. Okay, quick story time. Quick story time. For one thing, if anyone hands you little peppers, you should immediately question what has just been handed to you and prepare yourself. If anyone ever hands you a little tiny pepper, make sure you get milk and bread. So, really quick story time. When I was a missionary over in Germany, 2 other missionaries decided that they would play a prank on me and my companion. They had gotten effectively ghost peppers from a German. How ghost peppers got to Germany, I don't know. Germans fear anything that's spicier than pepper. So it's just like currywurst, where they take a little bit of curry and sprinkle it on their ketchup and sausage. That is like the most like, it's just, we're flirting with danger here. Germans don't like spicy food. So how ghost peppers ended up in the middle of Germany, I don't know. But these guys got their hands on some fresh peppers from a lady. And so when we met up in the evening, we're all chatting and they're all like, hey, you want some peppers? And I saw these peppers and I was like, I already don't trust these, but I'm not a wimp. I'm from the Sonoran Desert. I know spicy food. And so I was like, okay, yeah, give me one of those peppers. But first, you got to hand me a glass of milk and I want 2 slices of bread. And so that's what they gave me. I popped in the pepper. Delicious tasting. 5 seconds later, Mount Vesuvius erupted in my esophagus. So I just took 1 slice of bread, and I first downed about half the glass of milk, and then I took a slice of bread and just shoved it in my mouth and just chewed it until the heat went down. And the other guys were like, "How are you not dying right now?" And I was like, "I'm from the Sonoran Desert," which says nothing to anyone who's not from the Sonoran Desert. But I do know what spicy food is like because I live right next to Mexico, and a very particular region of Mexico that enjoys its spicy food and a particular brand of spicy. So someone should introduce them to the LA Beast hot pepper videos. Ooh, yes. Brazilians put French fries on noodles. Fear us. You know what? I do fear that, Rubens. I do fear. Why would you put your French fries on noodles? That breaks the Italian rule of too many carbs. And the weather, and Mimic says, when the weather where I live is more bipolar than Kane's crazy attention span. Oof, wow. Oh, I don't know if I could survive there unless I don't know. What do you do to make sure that you're ready for like anything? I adore the heat when I'm just coming out of the sheer cold. Noodles are good. French fries are good. Both on the same makes it cool. Okay. All right. Oh, continuing on. Yeah, as he's dying. For anyone who doesn't know, when you eat something super spicy, you do not get water. Water only makes it worse. You get yourself some milk, and I don't want your stinking Feastables.
Isn't that crazy? It's crunchy, salty. Yeah, on Mars.
Yeah, they're eating a plant in the swamp area that is salty. Okay, but again, Lars here with the know-how, with the knowledge of what's going on here. They're in the swamp area. That swamp right behind them, I guarantee that someone was asked to make sure that more water flow went through there to help push the stink out, because it's an actual bog. It's a little smelly. It is not a particularly fun place to be. The gangplank that's off there to the right of them. So there's the crazy scaffolding to the right, that scaffolding is what the climbers have to work with. It's pretty spooky working with that stuff. I am actually not allowed to climb it since I'm just a temp worker, and I am grateful for that. I don't need to climb that stuff. So that's where they have to climb when they have to do their repairs. That gangplank takes you on over into the swamp. I have been back there with all the spiders and stuff to work on sensors, and also to the left. Those are windows that lead down into the basement area. And oh my gosh. Oh, that is a very different place. That is, again, and something like right out of a horror movie. I always feel like I'm about to bump into Jason from I always feel like I'm about to bump into Jason when I'm down there. I'm just going to get hacked apart with a hatchet or with a machete. There's a bunch of really loud generators and coolers over here, which make the place really loud, really cold. Further in is where they're actually working on engineering and testing a lot of the different kinds of urchins, algae, and reef material to put over into the ocean. It's called the scrub room. And yeah, there's this crazy hallway right here where there's just a bunch of wiring, and I've had to find the correct hole, feed the wires up through the hole in order then to get it to the machinery that's hidden by the foliage. So yeah, swamp area it doesn't smell great, doesn't look great, but has loads of very important stuff going on there. And what is there is indeed edible. These three guys are also edible, dear children, but that is called cannibalism in most societies and is frowned down upon.
You'd put that in there, and it would make the food salty.
What? That's awesome. And that brings us to our final biome,
the ocean biome. So when I was saying how they were working on trying to create reefs that would be more resilient to the heat, this is that thing. So this massive structure right here has a bunch of lamps that we can control the intensity of the heat that they emit and also where they emit it. So we can super warm this ocean area that we control, or we can also cool it down when we want to, and we can concentrate beams onto certain parts of the reef to see what will happen. So it's all a massive controlled experiment place. And it's quite cool. And there's a whole beach setup, which you don't see way back here, complete with chairs for people to lounge on and look lazy. However, if you're caught being lazy, then you're going to get a dressing down. There's also a diving area for the workers. So when they have to do dives, like people actually get scuba gear to go diving into this simulated ocean. And the diving area is right on over here. There's also a really, really creepy spiral staircase, which is just over here. That, again, it feels like something right out of a horror movie. I think I'm the only person to have climbed that thing in like the past couple of years. I mean, maybe someone else has come through there, but oh man, it is something else. But yeah, and then there's the rainforest over there. There's actually the desert area behind the camera at this point.
Ocean. Check it out. That's a lot of water. That's a beach. A literal beach inside of the biosphere. Now that we have...
So, yeah, there you have it. Now you can have a Martian dinner. And then just more. This is then where he seamlessly goes into Shopify. This is the last thing. This is the last thing that he's got here in this. This is real. This is real. There's an orchard area where we grow lettuce on the walls, and you can come and you can pick the lettuce, and the lettuce is actually sold. To consumers in the Tucson area. So yeah, that's actually a real thing. And again, the biosphere was an attempt to simulate what it would be like to. It was it was an experiment to simulate what it would be like to try to inhabit Mars. But it was a successfully failed experiment. Successful in that we learned tons of stuff, such as, no, you need loads of plants, you need healthy oceans and stuff in order to survive. You can't just live in this dome. And it may also made us realize just how far away we are from learning and understanding how to properly properly terraform any place. So yeah, humanity is very, very far away from getting to Mars, to living on Mars. Sorry, Elon Musk, we're not getting there anytime soon. Funny enough, though, the biosphere, because it's in desperate need of more funds because of all the slashing to education and the grants, this means now that the biosphere has been reaching out to, for instance, to people like Mr. Beast, to a Korean film crew, and also even to Elon Musk in order to get this kind of exposure to the masses, to get influx of cash and stuff, so we can continue to conduct experiments. And basically the whole thing is to sell Musk on, guess what? We're working on the first stages of terraforming, which is going to be important for your Mars colony. And Elon Musk is like, yes, it sounds wonderful. And I don't know if he is going to enter into a partnership with Biosphere 2 or not. But yeah, that's the thing. So Mr. Lars is currently suffering from Friday flu. No, I just have the eternal cough. I got about another month of this cough if history repeats itself. But yeah, so that's Mr. Beast with his time on over at the Biosphere. I'll quickly retell, though, how it was just an absolute mess, the whole production. The people who were supposed to have come early to make sure that everything was set up and fine to go when Mr. Beast arrived, they didn't arrive on time. As a result, people just kind of twiddled their thumbs and sat on their hands until the day of the shoot, which then meant that people were freaking out. No one knew what was happening. Mr. Beast also showed up late. There was loads of security there for whatever reason. It was an overproduced experience. Just way too many people doing way too much stuff. Why? And then they ordered loads of food. They brought in enough food to feed at least 100 people. They didn't have that many people. It was overproduced for what it was. It was overproduced, but they did not have 100 people on hand to feed. And they left all that food out. Now, remember what I said earlier about there being all those cockroaches in the place? Yeah, because they left out all the food, all the cockroaches came out to play. And so like the next day when workers came to get the place ready for tourists and the likes to come through and view the place, because it's a tourist attraction, there were roaches everywhere. And so we're stomping on roaches, sweeping up roaches, having to remove all of this food, clean up. We had to clean up an entire section of the biosphere of all the stuff that Mr. Beast and his team left behind for us. Oh my gosh, it was a real mess. And we were all like, well, at least we're getting we're getting publicity, free publicity, right? And now we get that video, which again, for what the biosphere actually is and what it has been, Mr. Beast's video is actually fairly misleading and doesn't touch on a lot of the really cool stuff that we are doing there at that place. Which, I mean, is not quite as fantastic as, like, we have bred alien life here, or we are ready for Mars in the next 10 years. But it's the far more realistic stuff. Did you get cockroach cleanup duty? I did get cockroach cleanup duty because I was one of the first people on the scene. I was one of the ones who cleaned up all the tables and whatnot. Yay. A bit gross. Yes, it was. Constant coughing and the absurd necessity to stream. Well, I did say I would stream, and this cough is just this cough is what it is. It's going to stay here with me for like the next month. I hate the eternal cough, but when it comes, it comes. You got all that butt juice. I know, it's great. It's great. And yeah, I'm just gonna guzzle. I guzzled that stuff for the boss fights. Let me tell you. Also, I mean, it is questionable to be the guy walking around with loads of butt juice, but I mean, when in Rome. Okay, so that was my Mr. Beast stuff right there. I think I've talked about him in the video long enough. Yeah, good timing with the footage. Let's talk about the writing lesson from this week, the one that Scott and I did, which is how to turn your ideas that you have into stories. Now, he and I threw out loads of different strategies that you can engage in. Stuff from asking questions about this idea that's come to you, playing it out to your end, sharing your idea with other people. Obviously, you have to write that idea, make a flow chart, ask yourself why you're so excited about this idea. There's all of these different things that you can do, and the reason why you need to kind of engage with this idea from various angles is because simply having an idea, like for instance, I've shared with you guys in a previous stream how I have this idea for a story I'm right now just calling The Fox and the Hare. I could say, yeah, so we've got a fox who's collecting magical items, and he's going to be joined by this rabbit boy who was once a slave, and they're going on a quest. Yay! If I just sat down and immediately was all like derp 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 and just started typing it on out, sure, great. I'm already writing, which is good. But how quickly might I run out of energy for that particular idea? When might I not like it anymore? Or might I get to a point where I'm like, actually, what do I do with this? And that's one of the biggest problems that we run into as creators, is that sometimes we're just like, what exactly do I do with this particular story idea? It came to me, it struck like lightning, it was beautiful, it was amazing, but now that I actually have to deal with it, it seems a little bit rough. I'm stuck in the back rooms, help me! Well, you've got connection. So what I want you to do, Rubens, is I want you to ask AI what you should do when you're stuck in the back rooms. Me personally, I would just say, stick your head between your knees and kiss your bum goodbye. That, or find a star and wish your way on out, or find a genie, make whatever kind of deal you need to do, make with the djinn. That could also help you out. So, anyways, story ideas are great. When you get bit with that bug to just create something new, it's amazing. But like I said for the Lord of the Rings appreciation stream, that you need that combination of passion and perseverance to make a story play out. And the same goes with that idea. You need to be truly passionate about the idea, and you also then have to work on it, persevere with it to make it the best it can be, because that idea isn't a given to magically become an amazing story. It's why Scott in the video quoted Brandon Sanderson, good old Brandy Sandy Buns, who said that ideas are cheap. You can give a great idea to a terrible author, and that great idea will fall totally flat. You can give a bad idea to a great writer, and they can still make then something great of that idea. Like ideas are just the beginning. It is the author's job to take all of their various ideas, combine them along with the inspiration they then get for the characters, for the plot. Maybe the idea was specifically a character. Now you're wondering what you're going to do with that character, where you put it, the tropes that you use, the edits, the reviews, all of that help that to turn that idea, which was once just this neat little seed, into an amazing tree full of life and potential that's constantly growing and just provides you with that amazing experience. as authors, that is our, like, that's our job, to take those ideas and transform them into an amazing story. People everywhere around the world are constantly having great ideas for stories, and those ideas never make it off the vine because, or I should say, they never have liftoff because those people don't have the time or the desire or the skill to transform those ideas into the stories that they could become. So what I would like to hear from you guys, if you're willing to share, I'd like to hear a story idea from you that you particularly love, but for whatever reason has gotten stuck. You're not sure how to make it move forward. And maybe I can already give you then some like in the moment advice that might help. So please feel free to share in the chat. Also gives me a chance to take a drink of water. Definitely need that. And if you're wondering, oh, what kind of idea could I or should I share? I'll share a failed idea with you guys, or one that at a moment, I can't say it necessarily failed because this idea has taken on way new life now, but it was an idea actually before Camille's Harem was even a thing. Back when I was just like dabbling in writing, I had this idea of a story that would have all these different characters involved, an evil vizier who's trying to take over the kingdom and get the princess who escapes the evil vizier, this noble Amazon warrior lady who is on a quest for revenge, and a boy with a cursed sword. And so these are all the characters I had in mind. I had this marvelous vision in my head of how the princess like escapes from the vizier, and basically launches her carriage out of the castle, and just how magic just perfectly lands on a bridge and just rolls away. So like I had a moment like that. I knew how the Amazon warrioress looked and how beautiful she was. And the relationships that she had with her sisters, the meaning behind the colors of their hair, and then I'd even written like the first chapter with the boy with the cursed sword, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, oh yes, it's all coming together, and then it fell apart after like writing 3 chapters. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this, and what I found out later on, like looking back at it, was that I just did not know how to really bring such separate, very different characters together and make it work in a way that just felt good for the story. Plus, I actually didn't really know where these characters were even meant to go. I just had really, really cool ideas and some cool archetypes for these characters in mind, but I never actually put in the work to develop the idea. I just began immediately writing it. And though I was writing, which again was good, because writing anything is good, it gave me experience, I was not truly prepared to take those initial ideas and bring them all the way to where they could be, what they could become. Let's see here. AI told me to build a nuclear reactor. Oh, well. Mission given is mission completed. AI tells me 1, don't panic. 2, mark where I've been. 3, listen more than I look for. Avoid entities. 5, conserve energy. 6, find glitches to exit. Well. I guess my worst situation is when I made a story about a main character going through cycles after him and his best friend made a plan to keep a world-ending being from awakening. Basically, every time the being reaches 99.9% completion, the entire thing resets, except only the main guy has to keep the memories. Now, that's a really cool story right there, Rubens. It reminds me actually of kind of reminds me a little bit of All You Need Is Kill and a particular episode of Outer Limits, where humanity is being attacked by these aliens, or expects to be attacked by these aliens, and so these people are put into the Earth's core with a bunch of bombs, and they have to hit this button repeatedly to prevent the bombs from going off and blowing up the planet. And one by one, they all start getting killed until the aliens realize, oh no, we actually have to keep these people alive. And so the question is, like, what do you do? Do you keep pressing the button out of the hope that somehow humanity survives, or you say screw it and just blow up the whole world? But obviously that's not exactly your story. So I'd say Rubens, for your particular story, because again, I really like this idea, I would say that you should consider where do you want the story to end up? Where do you want these two characters to be by the end of it all? Do they make it? Do they survive? Do they not survive? Is the apocalypse brought about? Like, ask yourself what the ending should be, and then kind of play that out and be like, okay, so this is the ending. This is kind of where I want things to get to be. And after you've played out in your mind, start making some points, like create either a flow chart or a breakdown of basic plot points, and just start building from there. Give yourself a chance to think it through, start building a skeleton for a plan moving forward, and then go from there. Because again, I really like that idea. And if you want to see it through, I'd say really, really play around with it. Begin first with, where do I want it to end? Play it on your mind. How do I get to the end with these characters and with this monster? And then start creating a framework for the plots. AI makes a pretty good therapist, shamelessly. I wouldn't trust AI, but whatever. Yeah, you do you, Mimic. A story I want to complete but is currently stuck. My main series, the Reincarnation series. A story about a mage from a secret royal guard trained to protect the kingdom from to protect the kingdom from vampire mages who drain the life in exchange for magic. They seek to revert the world back to its original chaotic, formless state. I'm stuck on the boring training arc still. So, all right. So, if you're stuck with the training arc, because yay, training arc, having written a couple of training arcs myself, and I get where it can be really, really just boring. I now understand better why, for a lot of mangaka, why they incorporate like the enemy breaking into the specific site or some sort of practical lesson in order to utilize the abilities, because that keeps things feeling alive and fresh. I'm going to speak as a teacher more so than as an author to you, ISO. Think about, and I know that you have done your own training, so I want you to think about this. What are those moments when what are those things that you get taught that at the beginning you're like, why do I need this? And isolate that stuff within your story. If a character's like, why do I need this? Set it aside. Why do I need this? Set it aside. Why do I need this? Set it aside. Once you have those things that are the basics that any character would say, well, why do I need this? Why do I need this to become a great warrior, or to become a great mage, or to become a great scientist, whatever it is? Those are your basics, where you say, you need to know this stuff because it will become relevant. Use the training arc to show the frustration. Channel your own frustration in there. Be like, why do I need this stuff? Well, because it's going to be important. You already set some stuff up, a little bit of foreshadowing about how it could be useful later on. And then have whoever is doing the teaching do some practical work. But not like over the top. Like, now we are going to go and we're going to fight a whole bunch of, demons or monsters. And you're going to show that special, awesome secret move that you've been developing and that we've had like 3 episodes to build up to. no, you don't need to do that. I did that with The Legend of the Ten Lords with Knights of Halicruz, and looking back at it, it really does feel shoehorned in. It's better than than the original training arc concept, which was just far more just yeah. The real good thing that I did with that training arc was that there was a conflict between rivals where my main character, Ben, got to put into practice the basics, but also learn about consequences. That sure, you've got all these amazing powers, these phenomenal cosmic powers, but with phenomenal cosmic powers comes great responsibility. And if you don't understand that concept, and if you don't understand the concept of consequences and blowback, it doesn't matter if you're able to do whatever it is that you imagine. Things will still happen that are unintended. And so Ben then has to live with those kinds of consequences. So a training arc is a great time to kind of build up rivalries, to establish why certain things are so important to learn, to set up foreshadowing for later, build up relationships between characters who are doing this training, whether between the various students or students to masters, or between the masters, and also show in a more controlled and quote-unquote safe environment what it means for the heroes to fail. This is something that I feel like not enough anime does, for instance, that it actually shows the hero failing during training. There are stories that do that, and I'm really happy for that. But not enough do that, because they just want to show the main character being awesome at everything. But what you want to do is you actually want to show what those consequences are in a safe and controlled environment. So that way it already hints to the audience, should this happen again, the consequences are going to be bigger and worse. Are we ready for it? And so those are some things that I would recommend ISO that you keep in mind. So you're saying there, frickin' footwork, yeah, from learning how to fence, measure footwork, don't rest in your guards, try not to telegraph, sword fighting in a nutshell. So yeah, again, think about all of those basics, the rudimentary stuff, the boring stuff, the stuff that kids ask, why do I need this? You need it because it will be what sets you up for success. This is the foundation that you are building on. If you don't have that foundation, you come apart. One of the best sword training scenes I've ever seen in a story is insanely brief, and it's a very simple one. It's from Beyonders, where one of the characters is teaching Jason how to fight with a sword. And he's all like, footwork. And he's like, why do I need to worry about the footwork? I want to know how to like slash and stab. And the other guy steps up, deflects the sword, and just shoves him to the ground. And he's like, the reason why I was able to shove you to the ground is because you didn't have the proper footwork. If you were prepared, if you knew how to react, you would do better. You would not have fallen. I might have still killed you, but you wouldn't have fallen. And it's such a wake-up call to Jason, because he's like, this guy doesn't need a sword to beat me. And so he's like, okay, I need to practice. And so it's a simple scene, but it really impresses upon the reader and upon the main character just how important the basics are. Gasp! I have a scene like that. My main character gets proficient in magic, and his teacher tells him he can't go on a mission with him. So he wants to show his skill by challenging his teacher, expecting to lose, but to show his skill. His teacher shows the phenomenal gap in skill between them both, and I like that. That is really, really good. And so what I would say, ISO, is that a scene like that should be like one of the kind of those big moments in the training arc. And for the rest, it really comes down to working on how to condense the important information into a very consumable format for the reader. Let's take Harry Potter, for instance. Now, Harry Potter, like I've done my whole video about how J.K. Rowling was so close to writing an excellent school for wizardry, but that there were things that were obviously missing, because she was not writing a book to teach people how to do magic. She was writing a story that took place in a magical boarding school. But even within the Harry Potter franchise, there are these moments where those fundamentals are taught to Harry, Ron, and Hermione about the focus, how you need to enunciate the words. You need to mean that magic. So it's very simple stuff, but what we learn constantly throughout the series is that if you don't mean the magic, and if you misspeak the words, the magic doesn't work, or it's less potent. And so those fundamentals act throughout the rest of the series. And it's one of those things where you just wish that Harry would have gotten that better, because if Harry had better understood that concept, he would have been an even better wizard earlier on in the series. It's not until the Triwizard Tournament that he really begins practicing with his magic, and we actually get to see Harry rising to his full potential as a wizard. And it's just like, if only we could have gotten to that sooner. Harry, my boy. So I hope that helps you out. My advice right there for tackling the training arc. That's just one way of doing it, but that's kind of how I would go about it. Let's see here. Lucid Star Mellow says, I feel the same way with my projects. Art says, I want to write a David and Goliath story type involving dragons. Just not sure where to go with it. Oh, yes. And Art's going to be talking about dragons later. Okay. Arts, I need more information about this, because that is indeed an idea right there. We need to work with this. Are we talking about a human versus a dragon? Like a goblin versus a dragon, a tiny dragon versus a massive dragon, because it's David versus Goliath. So, I mean, we're talking about someone who shouldn't win versus the guy who everyone is betting on to win. And so I want to know, what are you kind of envisioning as the dynamic? Who's facing off against whom? So who versus who, or who versus whom, and why are they facing off? Well, let's first ask those questions. This is where we're implementing the strategy of, you got an idea, let's start asking some questions, because asking some questions will really, really help with nailing that down. While you are giving a response, hopefully you're giving a response, Rubens, I also thought about making a new plot device that every 10,000 cycles, the main character from the past cycles has to either die or kill the one from the current cycles. I also must warn, I can't make the best friend survive because she did die to keep the apocalypse from occurring. Okay, so you already have, then know what you're going to be doing with one particular character, and Rubens, that's really, really good. So if you've noticed, I may or may not have been inspired a lot by Sisyphus to make this story. Well, unfortunately, that's not exactly connecting with me immediately, but I see that you've already been working some stuff out. So at least you know what's going to happen with one of those characters. And so then, generally speaking, for the overall end, what does that mean, avoiding the apocalypse? How's the main character come out of it? That's some stuff then to think about. So Art says, human versus dragon. Dragons rule the world, but there's a human who gets tired of the dragons treating humans like crap. Of course, humans are naturally weaker, but that doesn't stop the main character. All right, so dragons rule the world. I am a-okay with that. Someone who's writing Whitefire and enjoyed reading Wings of Fire. Human, of course, is not okay with this, so human goes to fight a dragon. Is this a particular dragon? Is this like a dragon that had attacked the humans' settlement? Is this like the ruler of the dragons? Is this like a dragon champion? Or is this just like a big dragon, big bad dragon that everyone knows if you take this guy out, you are to be taken seriously? A sec here, I gotta let a very anxious fat cat out of the office. Go forth and be free. The main character's small inner circle of friends try to keep him from doing anything that would bring negative attention upon them. All right, say that I mean, that's good to know. So most of these humans are like, please don't do anything to bring down this dragon's ire on top of us. Say, I like that. I think that's really good. I have to take another drink of water right there. So let's see here. I was thinking maybe either one dragon or a gang of dragons with a leader that stands out. So I know that typically speaking, most people are going to say, yeah, you should only go with one dragon because dragons are super solitary. Now, I would say, sorry, Fat Cat decided she wanted back in and made a real entrance of it, didn't you, honey? Getting distracted by the cat. Anyways, I would say this. If you really want to make things kind of stand out and have a little bit more fun with like what it means for dragons to rule and everything, I would explore the option of a gang of dragons. And my reasoning for that is, again, to kind of show what it really means for dragons to kind of be in control, that they're maybe not just these brutes, these animals that just control everything through sheer force and like, oh, yes, my territory, nom, 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 let me gather treasure, which is typical, and you can't really go wrong with going typical. But again, if you want to make it kind of your own and be unique, you want to kind of then go a little bit more against the grain, would be my suggestion. So a gang of dragons would work out really well. Plus, it then becomes even more amazing then for our David archetype character when he or she wins, as they take out the lead dragon. All the other dragons are all like, oh, we're not going to mess with this human. It changes the dynamic profoundly. Versus, I just beat this dragon, and then the humans are the ones who are like, yay, you won! It becomes more profound when dragons can see it, when dragons can be humbled by seeing the defeat of one of their own. So that would be my suggestion. From there, then it really comes down to thinking about who this main character is, like really establishing their personality and why, in a world where dragons reign supreme, why does this person stand out? Because there's got to be loads of other people who've said, I've had enough of this. I've taken enough of this dragon's crap. And they don't want any more of it. Why then is this human unique? Or maybe not necessarily that unique in going up against the dragons, but why is this human fighting when so many others don't? And what is it then that makes this human special? That this human can take down a dragon? The human would have a few dragon allies or friends, like a dragon therapist who works with both humans and dragons. Ooh, kind of like my dragoness for Whitefire. Anyways, okay. So if a human can have dragon friends, okay. This is this is kind of jumping a little bit more out of the order than I had expected, but Arts, let me then, the fact that this human is seeing a dragon therapist makes the human untouchable. Oh, okay, interesting. Because the dragons respect is it because dragons respect the therapists so much, or because a dragon says, I've got a connection to a human, therefore you should not touch this human? Now, like that, it seems to me like you've already got some good ideas here. So now I'm just the one asking questions of you. Say, what is the answer? Why is it that a human meeting with a dragon makes them untouchable? That's what I really want to know. Dragon tales. It's almost time for dragon tales. Come along, take my hand. Let's all go to Dragonland. Oh wow, it's been such a long time since I last watched Dragon Tales. That was around the same time that I watched like Songhua with my sisters. Wow, Goes way back in the day. That was a fun show. That was a good fun show. My dad liked to tease me and my siblings for watching it. Not because he didn't like it, but he's just like, you guys always love this thing, and you get so excited about it. So teasing. So dragon healers have a special respect in dragon society, and their word is absolute. Alrighty then. So what it excuse me. So Arts then. So if the therapist says not to hurt or touch her patient, no dragon can touch the human. So now it makes me even more interested. What exactly does this society look like? Like, how close are humans and dragons together? Like, what? Like, are they all packed together within a city? It means the therapist has a special interest in the human. Okay, so the therapist has a special interest in the human. Got it. That already answers a question I hadn't yet. I don't think I'd yet said out loud. Like, why would a dragon condescend to speaking with a human if all of the other humans are treated like dirt? Say, we're getting some good stuff. You already got the good stuff right there in your head, Arts. I was asking the questions to help already kind of bring it out. Like, I'm getting excited seeing this. But there is, and just make sure. Say, let me actually quickly share with you here by sharing the screen. I actually already had this set up. Now, like, what's immediately jumping to my mind, and maybe it's because this is the series I just recently binged, but what immediately is jumping to my mind is this comic of the Dragonist says sit. Now, kind of a silly title. The Eternal Swirl is back. But the Dragonist says sit is a comic that you can look up, mostly free to view unless you're viewing it directly through the artist's own website. But it is a story about a human who gets offered up as a sacrifice to a dragon, and then becomes part of this dragon's treasure. So I got this little prologue right here. The humans live in a world where dragons are around. And there's loads of other species as well, all these different kinds of magical races that live alongside them. The thing that's funny to me about this series is how, like, the dragons and all the other races are basically living in a magic punk world. So it's like steampunk, but rather than steam powered, it's all magic powered. So, like, they're super advanced. They're almost like they're kind of like breaking out from the 1800s going into the 1900s with some spells already tapped into like more advanced technology. And the humans are still back in the medieval ages with no idea that the dragons have like ridiculous amounts of technology and are like super advanced. So I do not think that that's the kind of story that you're telling, but but I think if you want to see a fun depiction from another storyteller about a world where the dragons are obviously the apex, but humans and others will live around there as well, the bias that dragons have towards humans, stuff like that, is all there in the story. I guarantee it's very different from whatever you want to tell, but it's something that you can check out, and it might give you a little bit of inspiration. So humans are mainly workers, but there are a few that manage to stand out. The humans that are recognized by dragons are immediately brought up in the world. However, most humans see these recognized humans as traitors and hope never to be recognized. Oh, that's rough. That's rough, but understandable. Because in a world where dragons reign supreme, and being the human who is able to stand out and have that kind of security, yeah, that's not gonna win you many friends. Understandably so. Or those who want to become your friend, but really to benefit themselves and not because they actually want to get to know you, which is its own horrible thing. That's sad to contemplate. Anyways, most humans don't bother to rebel, but the fact that the human randomly decides to rebel gains the attention of this therapist dragon, and she wants to learn more. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, it seems to me, or it's like this idea that you've got going on, like it's there. I think that you've got enough information to really start now taking this concept. And now what you should do is you should play it out to the end. Say, okay, here's my David fellow. He's rebelling. This therapist dragon takes notice of him, finds it interesting, wants to learn more. So so what are the things I need to write to show he's rebellious? How does the David receive the therapist's attention? Write how the therapist interacts with our David character. Also, how do the other dragons try to find a way around this dragon saying, "You shall not touch this human," because the healer's word is absolute. The healer's word may be absolute, but that doesn't stop anyone who's a bully from doing bully things. So, how do the other dragons then try to bully this David character in order then to, I think, better set up the ultimate confrontation? Obviously, you need to know who the main villains are going to be, develop their characters, and then say, okay, so then during therapy, how does everything lead to the confrontation? Then what does the confrontation look like? And then what's the fallout? So those are things you should do. And here's our beginning, our introduction to David. What does the David character do that gets it, that shows he's rebellious? How does he capture the attention of the therapist? What's the David character's experience with the therapist? How does that play out? How do the antagonist dragons react to all of this? How does this build up to the fight? What should the fight look like? What's the fallout? So, I mean, that's all really basic, but again, you're just getting started. This is creating that skeleton, creating that framework that which you will be able to build around everything else. Nick says, I want a dragon to be my therapist. That'd be a much better therapist than AI. In fact, I have no idea what possessed me to even say AI is good therapy. My subconscious was hacked. Don't trust AI. Yeah. If anyone needs a therapist, please go get the real thing. It's good to get the right. It's good to get the right kind of get the right and real kind of treatment. I have on one side of my family. I think I've told you guys before. I have an uncle who looks like House from the show House. He even acts a lot like House. Way nicer. He's definitely not nearly as much of a jerk. But in that family, so I got a doctor, and then two of his daughters are doing research and therapy. And so I get the chance to learn from them, hear from them, and like real therapy is really, that's a good thing. So no AI, you need therapy, go get the real thing. That's all I can say. Arts, the main villain I'm imagining as a Clarence Boddicker. Oh, type from RoboCop. Arts, man, you are already winning me over with this particular villain. A Clarence Boddicker type dragon? Holy cow. Oh, I almost see, this is one of those reasons why people say it's easier to write the villain than it is to write the hero, because the moment that you introduce just such a corrupt sounding character, into this world. Like, now I'm just fascinated. How does a corrupt dragon try to go around the word of the healers and get at this human? What does he do to make this human's life miserable? How does he technically obey the letter of the law while obviously breaking the spirit of it? Ooh, man, that is the most delicious line of thought. And I'm really liking that. Holy cow! Yeah, I want to see it. Want to see you write the story art. He knows the rules and the loopholes, of course, but of course. I mean, what? Like, here's the thing: bullies know the rules because bullies are trying to get bullies are trying to get everything they can get out of a scenario, without getting in trouble. Because the moment that a bully truly gets in trouble, the moment that a bully truly suffers consequences, it breaks the facade of their power, and it allows for their victims to then come after them. So bullies actually know the rules usually pretty well in order to know how to skirt them, and thereby continue their acts of terror and trauma against their victims. So, like, a dragon who knows the rules and loopholes, perfect. I like it. Man, it kind of went a little bit dark right there, taking you guys into the mindset of bullies. But being someone who has written several types of these kinds of characters, yeah. I'll just say this, Arts. If you really take it seriously as part of the story, if you ever write from the perspective of the villain, especially like one who is like really malicious, it takes you places. I felt so good when I was finally done writing chapters for Gary in The Legend of the Ten Lords, because he is such a despicable character. He's Jessica's stalker, and just such an awful human being. And my writing group is all like, yeah, this guy's almost too real for comfort. You wrote him too well. I'm thinking of a name like Gallius for the bully. Gallius, you gnomish goat. Get off your high wings and come down and fight me. All right, Gallius. Gallius is a good, strong name for a dragon. Yeah. So we got an archetype of character for Gallius. We got a name now for him. We now need at least a working name for David, or we just keep calling him David. I like this. Arts, you are on the path. Say, keep on writing this stuff. Just going with Goliath wouldn't be very original. I mean, it still has a G in the name and everything, but yes. Say, actually, I'll tell you this for Whitefire, one of the main villains in Whitefire is this huge dragon named Thornbeard, and it's very apt because he's got all of these barbed and hooked scales that run down from his chin all the way down his throat and into his chest, that make it look like he's got this crazy beard going. And he is huge. He's a really big dragon with the ability to make himself become even bigger for brief spurts of time. And And so in my book, it's not the same thing as David versus Goliath. So don't don't feel like, oh my gosh, Lars and I are thinking too much along the same lines. I might have to change stuff up. But one of the characters who was very, very invested in taking down Thornbeard is very small at first. Very small at first until something happens, and then they get big as well. And then you get like a full-on kaiju brawl between them. And it's a fight that has been in my head for years. If you want, and I even have a song. I even know what song to go with it, and it is. Oh my gosh! Here I am building up. I even have the song that goes to it. It's the song "Release Me" by Two Steps from Hell. Like what I want you to do is this. If you want to get an idea for what this fight looks like, or what I kind of envision this fight to look like, put some headphones on or put some earbuds in, pull up the song "Release Me" by Two Steps from Hell, crank it up, close your eyes, and just imagine two dragons who are huge, duking it out, punching, slashing, scratching, burning, and one of them gets flung into a mountain and like starts breaking apart the mountain because he's so big. Proper kaiju battle. That's the kind of stuff that I intend to write. So definitely not a David versus Goliath, because David didn't grow to the same size as Goliath. But yeah, characters just all like, oh yeah, I'm taking you down. I love monster creation so dang much. I feel like I'm good at it. Monster creation is so much fun. I have stacks of ideas for the dragons in Whitefire. Just loads of different dragons, their names, their types, their abilities, what they look like. It's just so much fun. As a rename for David, I've thought of Dry or Darren. I'm right now going to go with Darren. I kind of like the idea of Dry or Dree or however you want to pronounce it. The only thing is that it almost feels more like a nickname than like a good, strong given name. That's just me. So don't like if you're tending more towards Dry, like just know that's Lars' opinion. You as the author, your opinion is what counts most. So, but my opinion for what it's worth is Darren. Though Dry does sound like a really cool like nickname, like, yo, Dry, you got this, man. You can take down Gallius today. Actually, there's probably no human who acts like that based on what you said. If this character, if Darren or Dry, whatever, has gotten the attention of one of the healers, it's a very good chance that the other humans, based on what you've said, are like, yes, just don't make life more miserable for us, man. Just don't. Dry officially, like humans feel dried out. I just feel so dried out with just all this dragon nonsense. They overwork me. They work me to the bone. Now then, Darkest Daydreams had brought up earlier. I feel like now is a good time to shift this over a bit. Brought up the whole Susie is the dragon, and I said we talk about that. So let's talk about that a little bit then before I dive into a Q&A for Whitefire. Also, I should just say this. Hopefully, this little experiment with this little exercise has helped you guys out with thinking a little bit more about what to do with these ideas. Really, there are only a handful of ideas that I would ever say, do you really want to do that? I don't feel like that's really good. You know what those are. Those are the bannable, get you kicked off of YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch kind of stuff. Might maybe want to rethink some of those. But for the most part, for the vast majority, most story ideas are great ideas in the making. It just requires you to work them through. asking questions, playing it out, coming up with charts or with points, boiling it down, thinking a little bit more critically, sharing, receiving feedback, like what we were doing right here. In this exercise alone, we already practiced at least 4 separate strategies that Scott and I talked about in our video. So if you haven't already checked out the video, please go check it out. It will be helpful for working on story ideas, converting ideas over into stories. And I hope that just this brief conversation has already given you some more stuff to work with, some stuff to chew on that might be able to then help advance your own stories even more, because that's what I would really, really, really love to see from all of you. I have this monster species called scrapers. Not because of the sound they make as their scales scrape against the walls of their tunnel dens. Ooh, that's cool. I like. Oh, that get the audible clue is great. Art says people were calling Susie a horse at one point. I was like, how? Yeah, how? How did people get horse? I think I was pretty certain that she was that she was some sort of lizard person, at least, if not a dragon person. Really quick within the first chapter. I says their scale. So the scrapers, their scales are inverted and flare out when in combat to slice at their prey. They're basically inbred dragons. Oh man, that's creepy and cool. What hath incest wrought? Oh boy, it's given them a whole new awful ability. Yikes. So, in any case, Susie as the dragon. I really, really hope that part of Deltarune is actually us playing suddenly my brain fart once again. Not Dungeon Quest. Crud, what's the name of the video game in Deltarune? Why am I blanking on it? This is so embarrassing. I'm blanking so bad right now. Deltarune game in game. Oh crap! What is it? Dragon Blazers. That's it. Dragon Blazers. I actually didn't even have to look it up. It finally popped into me. Okay, so Dragon Blazers. I really hope that we actually get to play Dragon Blazers. And good on you, Lucy. Yeah, you knew it. She's either a dino or a dragon. I thought she was a dinosaur first before realizing full on that she was a dragon. So I really hope that we get to play Dragon Blazers in Deltarune at some point. And my reasoning for that is because Dragon Blazers is something that's been referred to again and again and again within the game. It's the game that Noelle is playing with Rudy. It's the game that just about everyone has played at some point, from Birdley to Noelle to Susie, presumably also Chris. It's the game that's based off of the books from Gerson that we get to learn a little bit more about in his fight in chapter 4. So Dragon Blazers seems to be rather important because of how it's based on the prophecy. It's a game that connects everyone somehow. And it's something that we as a player have not yet seen. It's kind of curious. I like how Toby Fox has been keeping it secret. And one of the most telling things about this game's importance is when Gerson tells Susie that she's more like the dragon in Dragon Blazers. And she's really happy about that. Now then, we know that Susie likes to smash and bash and crash stuff. she's the hero, and we've seen her. She's getting way better when it comes to dealing with people, but those violent tendencies and that desire to destroy stuff is still there. Good on Susie. So it would make sense then why she would identify more with the dragon, who was presented as a villain in the first chapter. Now, in the first chapter of Deltarune, she, as the dragon, is one of the main antagonists in the story. Until she becomes friends with Lancer. And then she begins to change as a person. Her experience with being betrayed by Lancer. Getting rescued by... helping to be rescued by and rescuing Chris and Ralsei. Then realizing she's going to have to work with them. And then when Chris steps in and saves her, those things help her to develop a real friendship with the heroes. And as a result, become a good guy. Become a hero. Which the dragon was not. And I think that for Susie, what it means to be compared to the dragon by the author himself, by the guy who inspired the games, it's in many ways a redemption. That even a villain can be redeemed. Even a villain can become a hero. And so for Susie to be compared to the dragon, that is an absolute affirmation of her. It wasn't like, oh, you just misunderstood yourself. You were a hero this whole time, Susie. By Gerson saying what he does to her, it's an absolute affirmation of her experiences. Because she knows that she was the bad girl. She knows she was the bully. But that she is changing. She is getting better. And her conversation then following that experience with Chris at the piano, telling them about how she had smashed up the piano, how she even would have teased Chris for playing the piano and everything. It would just been another reason to hate them. But now she loves it, and she wants to learn how to play the piano. Being told that she's the dragon, again, it's just an affirmation. You were that. You were that person. But you're growing. You're becoming better. And Susie, the dragon can be redeemed as well. You are that dragon. You are still amazing. You're still powerful. But now you're good. That's what I think the importance is there. And man, that could be its own video topic all by itself. Mimic, while we're here, let's all take a moment of silence to remember the late, great Catherine O'Hara, who passed away at the age of 71. We'll never forget you, Miss Catherine. Rest well, Miss Delilah. Yeah, I saw that today, earlier. I think Coley McCulkin had a good tribute to her. You can find it either on Instagram, or you can actually also find it on YouTube. I saw it on YouTube, and I think those were good words. Since they both shared the first two Home Alone movies, and him coming from not a so great family background, to put it lightly, was really accepted by the people on set. She acted as a good surrogate mother for him, and he's never forgotten that. So, Catherine O'Hara wasn't just a fun actress, but a good person as well. So, thank you for bringing that up, Mimic. Oh, Susie, the mighty, beautiful dragon that you are. Absolutely. And now I feel like I really have to make that as a topic for a video. Okay. I only have like 2 weeks to do this. I'm gonna set myself a goal here. I will. Dang it! Oh, there's so much I want to do. Do I have the time? In February, In February, I will do a video. So in February, I'm going to do the video about what I think is going to happen at the fair. I'm going to do my theory, what I think is going to happen, and go all into that. And then I should do the video for why Susie is the dragon. Also, I've really been wanting to revisit the way in which Deltarune uses the trope of the girl next door. And after having done the video on Desrael, looking at the potential of Des and Azrael having been a couple, it makes me want to revisit that trope and how the trope has been used, because if Des and Azrael actually were in a romantic relationship, that means that Toby has really been biting at the apple of this particular trope in several ways. And especially now with more information about the Snowgrave routes and where all that's going, Toby is playing around with the trope of the girl next door in a really incredible way. He's basically getting, again, 3 bites at the apple. He gets to use this trope 3 different ways. And honestly, I'm impressed. I am very impressed, because most stories that would attempt to do that usually end up, what's the best way to explain this? They end up going way too far. And what I mean by that is, like, for instance, there was the really weird CW remake of the Archie comics, but it was what was it called? It was called like Riverside or something like that. And they just constantly like the girl next door, the girl next door, the girl next door, and so you've got the 2 girls really actually next door, and how like they're just the most desirable of all the women on campus. We must get together. It was just so beaten into you that both girls, one of them was Veronica, I can't remember the name of the other one, the blonde chick, how they were both just like, oh, there's just so perfect. And so you have the traditional girl next door, the blondie, who all the boys want, but then also you have the naughty variation of the girl next door, which is Veronica, who all the good boys want. And it's just, it was just so hammed up. That's the best way to put it. It was just so hammed up. People who tend to use the girl next door trope either just take it as an immediate given that certain characters will get together, and it's just boom, they know each other, of course they're going to get together, or they just ham it up in order to ensure all of the doubters that these characters will get together. Dang it. Toby Fox, on the other hand, is being very creative, in my opinion, with how he uses this trope. Mimic, so many things to do, so little time. Me too, Mr. Lars. Me too. Oh yeah. that is my life. It's tough to think that Kevin's mom is gone. Lars, I understand if you want to dedicate yourself to cockroach cleanup duty. No thanks. Oh, I hate roaches. I am so much. Anyways, so thank you, Dorcas Daydreams, for that fun little tangent right there. And now I have a new video topic to run with. So to wrap things up for the night, the Q&A for Whitefire. Man, I guess I have been going on for so long. I'm beginning to forget what I'm talking about. What am I going to do? Q&A for Whitefire. I'm going to try to see if I can. It's not as much fun to just simply share a massive block of text, but I shall still. I shall still show you guys what I have been doing, and see what you guys think. So, let me isolate that, and then I will share my screen let's see here. Sharing. I go with the window. All right. So you guys should now be able to see my my document. So this is my, as of right now, very poorly organized like lore Bible. This is what people in the television world would likely call it. This right here is right now where I've been putting a lot of my notes. The world's name is Draconia. I need to draw out a map with my amazing autistic skills and post on up here for you guys to see. I'll just say this: the main two continents look like a dragon and a dragon's pile of treasure. I know, very, very creative and no way childish for a more adult series, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the world's main continent looks like a massive dragon. And there's a lot of things that come into play throughout the series in regards to why the geography is the way that it is, the rituals, like especially like one of the things I intend to put in here for the geography is not just simply a map and a breakdown of the main areas and their kingdoms, but also the importance of the land itself. An interesting aspect of the world of Draconia is that geographic changes almost never happen. So, like, if there's an earthquake and the land breaks up, the land will heal itself within, depending on the amount of damage, either within days or within weeks. If you intend to dig into a mountain to go mining, that mountain will seal itself up by the next day and just swallow whatever is in there. So if you wish to extract ore, it's not just simply enough to dig, but you actually have to perform a ritual to Draconia, to the land itself, in order to garner its favor. And then you can actually dig, you can shape, you can form. And this goes for all races. Any race that wishes to change the landscape dramatically, so anything more than just simply farming and like building a house, anything more than the surface level requires basically permission from the planet itself. If you don't do it, then the planet just heals itself and all of your construction endeavors just went out the window. And so one of the things, though, that's good about this is that it means that you technically have an unlimited access to wealth, at least to mineral wealth. Now, in terms of the economy, that would then mean that the economy is shot. Holy cow. It'd be like Game of Thrones economy, where like a gold coin is basically worth 2 pennies. As stupid as that is. But the dragons control the vast majority of wealth within the world of Draconia. So that means that for the dragons who require massive hordes, this setup on this planet is great. They can continuously get more and more gold, silver, gems, what have you, precious metals. And for all of their children, their children then have access effectively to infinite amount of wealth that they can then gather for their own hordes. Toby's making the ultimate love triangle with Chris, Noel, and Susie. Chris and Susie are just adorable. Chris and Noel have unresolved feelings, and Susie and Noel don't know each other but want to. Oh, I love this stuff. Wish I took the time to do this. I just kind of start writing the story first. LOL. Yeah, I mean that's where I went for the longest time, but no, it does help, especially because I tried to just write Whitefire from the get-go, and it was not coming together. So that's why I had to do this. I hope you're getting better from your cough, Mr. Lars. Just know that you're not alone, because my dad has been coughing a lot due to the flu. So you're not alone, and I wish you well. Get better soon. Well, thank you so much, Mivik. this cough is going to be with me probably for another month, if I'm being all honest. Sounds like I'm really lucky. It's just the way that it goes each and every single year. Anyways, so as you guys can see, I got lots written right here. I'm going to have more written for Dragonborn as well, and then a breakdown of humans. These are the three major races: dragons, Dragonborn, and humans. For like this is one of the fun things. This is one of my fun additions to dragon lore in fiction. So there are 10 different types of dragons. And yes, I did have a certain influence from the Stormlight Archive while coming up with this. But rather than like 10 orders of Knights Radiant, which are all complementary, this not so much. I kind of took the idea of 10 general orders, but then mixed it with the wonder that Brandon Mole brings to his dragons in Fablehaven. And then I just took that and ran with it. So, on Draconia, one of the things you need to understand about dragons is that all dragons look unique. It's nearly impossible to find two identical dragons. I mean, you might be able to find them, but lots of dragons look very different in terms of size, their shape, their scales, patterns, body types. You might have a Hydra-style dragon next to a wyvern, next to a dragon who's more like a giant worm, up against your traditional Western dragon, against your traditional Eastern dragon, a drake, all just different kinds of dragons all over the place. Their body types aren't what really set them apart, though humans do kind of parse them down even more, because humans on Draconia are much like humans here on Earth. We like to put stuff into boxes, even though they don't always fit. But dragons do understand that they have 10 very specific creeds or types of dragons. So you have the air dragons. These dragons can all just float in the air. It doesn't matter if they have wings or not. They can just float. They all float around here. So it's great. They can go. These dragons can literally go and hang out in the clouds and just have a picnic on the clouds. Totally fine. Fire dragons. These guys don't, like, when I say that they enter berserker mode when they're enraged, doesn't make them sound as if they're really all that unique. One of the things that's going to be a challenge for me that I have to make sure I get across is that if you anger a fire dragon, it is probably going to be the last thing that you do. It is one of the worst things. Like any other, like almost all of these other dragons, you might have a chance to survive. If you make a fire dragon enter berserker mode, you are screwed. That's kind of that's their thing. Earth dragons heal quickly from injuries. The speed varies from dragon to dragon. So, like for instance, Thornbeard in the book will be an earth dragon. So even though he's got wings and everything, he's more bound with the earth because he heals so quickly from his wounds, which is one of the things that's going to make the final battle with him really fun. Because it's like, your regeneration abilities. Water dragons can breathe underwater even without gills. Spirit dragons possess the ability to connect with other dragons through dreams, which is something that I'm really looking forward to showing people in the second Tumblteller book, with a dragon who's able to connect all of Miku, Lyrian, and her friends together in dreams, so that way they can get around certain obstacles that have been put in their way. Then space dragons. These dragons can live in space. They are one of the few types that have a very, very defining trait, but this has something to do with stars on their bodies. All space dragons are recognized by the fact that something that looks like stars is crossing across the membranes of their wings, across their scales, in their eyes, their mouth. Somewhere on them, you can definitely see the stars. Then there's the angelic dragons. There's only ever 12 of them at any given time, Demonic dragons, there's only ever 13 of them at any given time. And then there are the impossible dragons. These are dragons that have tons of abilities loaded into them, or their bodies are just so insanely different from others that it's just like, how? For instance, in the book, there will be a couple of impossible dragons that we get to meet along the way. One of which is, this is going to be an absolutely terrifying encounter if I can get it right. It's a dragon that's a massive spider. So think of an 8-legged, scaly, hairy dragon with a body that looks more like a spider's than a dragon's. Fiercely territorial, spits out all different kinds of webbing. That is one of the monsters for the first book. That's an impossible dragon right there, because it just does not fit any other known variation of dragon, even for other dragons. It's a dragon that's like, oh, that's a dragon that only a mother could love. It's like, nope. Which is a fun fact for the world of Whitefire. Although dragons are fiercely independent and may not always like living next to each other, it's a unique thing when dragons decide to actually get together into communities. Dragons love their children. It is deep within their souls. It takes a very demented dragon to not care for its offspring on Draconia. That's one thing that's very important for a variety of reasons. Just how much dragon parents love their children. And so for this spider dragon, yeah, that's a dragon that only a mother could love, because it's in her soul to love her disgusting, deformed spider baby. Oy. Seeing all those elements from Air to Space is giving me Avatar: The Last Airbender nostalgia. Yeah, there's definitely the air, fire, earth, water, spirits. Right, about the love. And I know, again, it seems a little bit cheesy to go this route, but my hope is that even though this feels really cheesy, that once you actually get to see it in practice, with how these dragons look, how they behave, their powers, their personalities, how this world ruled by these absolute apex predators works, now you then get a better appreciation for these guys, and that your typical air, fire, earth, water, and spirit, you're all like, can we please deal with those? Like, not having to deal with an undead dragon. So in Tumblteller, there are 2 undead dragons that are mentioned who are not going to play a prominent role in the first book. They'll be mentioned as well in the first book because they are very important to the world of Draconia. They will come into play in the second book. Undead dragons on Draconia are something else. There's one undead dragon. His name is Drybones. Drybones is completely skeletal. There is no flesh or sinew holding this guy together. He's just a walking animated skeleton who can breathe noxious fumes of just instant death. From where he gets it, no one knows. But this dragon is just this indomitable, walking, murdering skeleton. And he is just absolutely feared by everyone because he's just death. He pukes out enough of these noxious fumes all around him that anyone other than another undead dragon would effectively die in his presence. But Drybones is kept in place by the dragon Deadsnout, who is revered as a kind of prince. Even though he doesn't seek for this title, dragons, humans, and dragonborn everywhere revere this dragon because he single-clawedly managed to put Drybones in his place. And no one knows how he did it. But what everyone does know is that in order to keep Dry Bones locked away on an island and never again step beyond the borders of that island, that Dead Snout has it arranged for corpses to be shipped from all over the world to that island. So that way Dry Bones can always continuously just hoard dead bodies, because that is what his particular hoard is. As opposed to just your typical silver, gold, and all different kinds of precious gems, the dragons of Draconia might also find themselves lusting after other treasures, quote unquote. Whether those be dragons that are obsessed with mirrors, dragons obsessed with books, dragons obsessed with corpses, whatever they consider to be a hoard, that is what that dragon's going to take until day's end. Meg says, we always love the cheese, Mr. Lars. Keep them coming. Cheese goes well with the toast, after all. Yes, my dragon cheese. Thank you very much. So those are my 10 different dragon types. Address the matter of their hordes. Like, I've got stuff written down about how long they live, the difference in bodies, how their magic is meant to work. There's so much stuff. Now then, this right here, let me just kind of highlight all of that. So this is about 5 pages. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages. That's 5 pages of writing. Over 2,000 words. So this is a lot. This is a lot of world building for just the dragons alone. And as you guys by now know, the trick with writing is not to just simply vomit all of this information out onto the page, but to make this come about naturally in the story where it is relatable. That is going to be one of the most difficult things to do with Whitefire. Laying out this incredible world in a way that will make sense to readers who have really nothing to anchor them in terms of like an isekai character. This is one of the reasons why Portal Fantasy is becoming in a way more popular, is because there's this notion now that if you're going to go to a vastly alien world, you need to have a fish out of water that will allow the audience to learn through their eyes. But if you don't have a character like that, that means that you as the author now need to be able to communicate all of this information when relevant and in a natural way through the eyes and understanding of characters who would never question this stuff. That's one of the reasons why Whitefire is so difficult and why I really need to write a lot of this stuff out. Because if I just garden wrote this, if I just discovered this as I was writing, it would be so much, it'd be hard to make sense of it all. So I need to have something to fall back on that I can say, this is concrete, this is my story. But again, that also means there's a lot of work that has to go into making this balanced, making this understandable, and making sure that the world operates properly. So that's why. I know I'm just kind of zipping all right through there. Would you guys like this? This is just a quiet question right here. Would you guys like me to make this available for people to check out? Like, I know it's one of those scary things for a lot of authors to put their ideas on out there for others to see and to comment on, but I'm willing to do that, especially because even if someone's like, yes, I'm not going to steal Lars's ideas. Oh, I already have all the documentation to prove I'm the one who came up with the stuff first. Plus, on top of that, ain't no way anyone's going to write this story the way I could or the way that I would, because this story is going to go places that no one else has had in their minds. So excited. And I'm right now also working on stuff for the Dragonborn. Dragonborn are the children of dragon and human relations, which are made a whole lot easier because all dragons can assume a human avatar should they so wish. So it makes those kinds of relations better because, yeah, if you're a human who's trying to boink with a dragon, it's not going to work out all too well. It's one of the things when I briefly showed the dragoness says sit. There's one chapter. Actually, there's a couple of chapters that refer to dragons and humans having relations, but there's like one chapter in particular where you're like, steamy sexiness. Mattress Mumbo was just happening recently, wasn't it? That guy's puny. That dragon's big. That human should be smashed. Like it's just like, yeah, it's like I'm sorry. It's a little rough. Aizo again, no. But right now I'm working on ironing out what it means for the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn acquire watered down abilities in relation to their dragon parents. They look human, except for their height. They're really tall. All Dragonborn are really tall and perfectly proportional, very beautiful, very handsome, and their hair is the exact same color as their dragon parents' scales. However, unless they are very gifted, or if they happen to be the offspring of an impossible dragon, Dragonborn do not have access to magic. Dragons have pretty much the true monopoly on magic. They can create items to give to humans or Dragonborn that will grant magical abilities, but the power to just conjure up incredible spells, do all different kinds of things, no human or Dragonborn will ever get close. And that is actually one of the biggest hurdles for writing Whitefire. That in a world where humans and Dragonborn fight against dragons, but dragons have the absolute monopoly on magic, and they are truly apex predators. How do way lesser creatures take them on and even have a prayer of winning? That is honestly one of the most difficult things to write. I know how it can be done, but how to do it in a way that doesn't make a character like Whitefire just become an absolute Mary Sue is what is difficult. And so one of the biggest stumbling blocks for me writing the series is one of the main characters herself, Whitefire, to make her a far more relatable character who is not just simply this powerhouse. She's powerful, yes. She's capable, yes. But we need to also be able to see her vulnerable. We need to see her wrong. We need to see her weak. We need to see the costs of taking down these insanely overpowered creatures and what it does to someone to go after them. Like, that is what I have to do with Whitefire. And again, that's one of the reasons why this book has taken years conceptually to come to a point where I can now say, I'm ready to write this. I thought I was ready once before and I failed at it. I am ready to come back at it now. Publishing 11 books at this point and having worked on plenty of others, I feel far more ready to tackle this because this is my Goliath. Is this series. ISO says, I like creating fantasy races that I also use to solve all the problems of humanity. But as a way to balance that, I have to make them notorious for a specific horrible thing. I really like that idea. I really like that. It actually kind of reminds me of Burn the Witch, the manga Burn the Witch, where so that's another story with loads of dragons. All the dragons are useful in some kind of way. Only problem is they'll all try to kill you and eat your soul. So the witches are there to prevent the dragons who power modern society The witches are there to prevent the dragons from going berserk and killing everyone. Then it says, there are many great and amazing authors throughout history in the world, but there's only one Mr. Lars, and only Lars that actually matters. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I will never be replaced or replicated. Or like in Disney's Aladdin, but never duplicated. Genie of the lamp. Yeah. So taking my dragons, for example, they do not lust, they mate for life. And violating that bond between mates is not only unthinkable, but the mere thought causes physical rejection. But they are very proud and greedy. They have a temper and are prone to burning people that insult them. Well, I like that. And it's one of the things that I like about it's one of the things I really like about what authors can do with the established tropes of dragons. Like again, when I went to a panel years ago at Phoenix Fan Fusion, where authors were discussing how one should write a dragon. And a lot of them were like, dragons are very animalistic. They're just these monsters. But I'm like, yes, but no. Because like a dragon who can be more than just a monster becomes suddenly way more formidable. A monster you can easily kill once you know what its weaknesses are. An intelligent being that does not act like a monster suddenly becomes way more intimidating. You start standing way less of a chance against it. And so authors who understand, okay, dragons, people perceive dragons as these big monsters, what can I then do that would make this monster seem different? And so, for instance, making dragons creatures that mate for life and are insanely loyal, that is something that makes the epithet of monster just bulk, and you have to suddenly reassess these dragons. And so I really like that. So basically, these dragons are not lustful, but very wrathful and prideful. They've got 2 of the 7 deadly sins going for them, and at least we got that much going for us. Excuse me. All right. Now then, I did say this would be a Q&A, so I've kind of been yammering away. Does anyone have any questions as far as like Whitefire goes? Like again, I and every author learn and grow from the questions that are posed to us. So with the things that I have said about Whitefire so far, what are some questions that you guys would have of me? Things you'd like to know about the story, about this world, or about how I wish to portray dragons or dragonborn or humans. Feel free to ask your questions, because your questions will help me to think about things that I probably should and consider how that could fit best into a story. The more that you're able to think about a story and its world, the more alive it becomes. The more you're better able to say, this is what's important for my story, and this is what isn't. And also just simply getting asked questions and answering them gets people excited for your story, which is also positive. So to ask a question, is there a limit to what an impossible dragon can be? Is there a limit? The answer is no. And I won't give away what some of the impossible dragons are, because that would really, really ruin some really cool things for later on. But so some of the impossible dragons that you will meet in the first book, that I don't mind already saying, these are characters that you can look forward to. One of the impossible dragons is a dragon called Missile Launcher. Yes, that's his name. That is his name. And Missile Launcher was murdered by tons of other dragons. because he was too freaky for them. Missile Launcher was effectively living machinery. Now, this world is medieval in its look, in its appearance, where more I would say early modern. Early modern is probably the better classification for the time period. So gunpowder is something that these people know about, but they call it dragon powder because of the burst and the kaboom. It sounds like a roar. It's flames. Ooh, dragon-like. So they've got dragon powder. Dragon powder is banned. Dragons do not want humans to have dragon powder. Nope, nope, nope. Any case, Missile Launcher is basically a futuristic machine, android dragon. He was born that way. And again, the parents of all dragons, the parents love their children instinctively, deeply, and they will do anything in their power to protect them. So this was a young dragon when he finally went out there into the world to begin amassing his own horde, stake his own claim out there in the world. And all the other dragons very quickly came to realize this guy is bad news for us. He is effectively living metal. On top of that, a lot of his abilities to these dragons would seem it's so outlandish. For the wary reader, you'll realize that what he's doing is laser beams, rocket launchers. He's got artillery that can come out of his body. He's a moving weapon. He's a moving, flying, breathing weapon. That should be a clue. I'll just say this. That should be a clue. When we get to meet Missile Launcher, it's already after his death. But he's still technically alive because he's a machine. He's a living machine. And one dragon decided to take his corpse and forge it into something. So remember how I said that, this is way earlier on in the stream, that I had a story with a boy with a cursed sword? That cursed sword became Missile Launcher in Whitefire. That is that's just one of those instances where an author's like, man, this idea didn't work in this story. What if I take it and transplant it somewhere else? Boom, now it suddenly works. So yeah, that's there we go. All right, we'll stop the stop just staring there at my page forever. Then hey, TV account is here. Hi. So that's one of the really crazy impossible dragons that you will meet in the first book. One of the others is a dragon whose name is Metal Zealot. And Metal Zealot is just a giant suit of clanking armor housing a living black hole. He's not a space dragon because he cannot go to space. He cannot live in space. And his very body actually helps to contain all of that destructive power of a black hole that makes up his body. So as Metal Zealot just goes clanking on around, if he doesn't like someone, he just basically has to open up his visor and basically unleash his natural ability, which is just horrible gravitational force. And it just destroys and kills everything instantly in front of him. So, impossible dragons are really, really things you want to stay away from. If you don't, unless you yourself are a dragon. If you're a puny human or a dragonborn, you stay away from impossible dragons unless you have to absolutely deal with one. If one is your dragon lord, or if one is your business master, or the master, you're the apprentice, then you got to deal with them. Otherwise, you leave them be because they are too much. Yes, dragon racism. Discrimination makes me happy. Fictional discrimination for the plot. I'm liking this wacky brain juice. Very creative. I'm very intrigued. I'm intrigued. Excellent. Love to hear it. And thank you for that question. So yeah, there a limit to what an impossible dragon can be? Yeah, the answer is effectively no. There are for what will be met throughout the series will be all different kinds of really powerful dragons. Now then, that does leave for me the question, why doesn't, for instance, a dragon like Metal Zealot, why doesn't Metal Zealot just simply go tromping through and just rule the world? There's a reason why Metal Zealot doesn't. Which I won't say here, because that's a fun spoiler. That's a fun spoiler for why Metal Zealot doesn't just simply try to conquer the world. Missile Launcher, however, as I said, he gets killed. The other dragons realize just how powerful he is. They gang up on him, and even though he's a living machine, he gets taken down because they've got magic too. They can do it. They can do stuff. They can break him apart. And then for some of these other impossible dragons, they're just, yeah, they are truly incredible. But not all dragons want everything. Not all dragons want to rule the world. And dragons know that as powerful as they are, deep down they know that there is someone or something out there that can take them down. And that's terrifying to these very proud, powerful creatures. And so they try to keep that on the down low as much as they possibly can. That kind of fear, that kind of anxiety. And that is something that actually ties into how the first book unfolds with the dragon slayers and the likes, which Whitefire is a part of that secret society. Or maybe not so secret society. But yeah, again, thank you so much for that question, ISO. Any other questions that people have in regards to what I've talked about when it comes to Whitefire, these dragons, the story idea? I am happy to answer. And if something's a spoiler, I don't want to say, it's a spoiler, but I can tell you some other stuff that's adjacent to it. Take a drink of water, and oh boy, it's 2.5 hours. I said I wouldn't go for too long. Here I am, 2.5 hours later, feeling my voice, but I still want to answer you guys' questions. Good water. I agree, Mick. Long time no see. TV account. Great to have you jumping aboard for the live stream. Any other questions? So I mean, people are always like, I don't know what should I ask. One of the things you could always do to an author, if an author's like, ask me any question at all, and you're like, I'm not exactly sure what kind of question I could or should ask. You can always ask. What is the sewage system like? Okay. Ooh, great question. Are the space dragons like hermits or pilgrims? A good way so that's a great question. Space dragons are like witnesses. And the reason why I say they're witnesses is because space dragons are commanded by the great dragon god who created all of the world and all the spaces beyond. The great dragon god has decreed that all space dragons should take flight to the stars and see his majestic creations, and then bring back word to all other dragons of the marvelous worlds that he has created. But know that Draconia is at the center of the universe. So space dragons go out into outer space. They fly at ridiculous, insane speeds, going out to other worlds, seeing these other worlds, and they come back with tales of these other worlds, of the marvelous creations of the great dragon god. And no one believes them. No one believes what these space dragons have to say, which makes the space dragons feel like very very unappreciated. They don't know why they're supposed to do this. They really don't. It was never explained other than just, you must tell of my great creations. And so, so they do this. No one believes them. Makes the space dragons usually really grumpy. So they either spend a lot of time just hanging out in outer space, or they become recluses. Very, very few space dragons are social in any kind of way on Draconia. However, there is a dragon in Whitefire who believes all the stories from these space dragons. And if other people would also believe like her, the first book would turn out very differently. So are they like aliens? Do they live on other planets? They can live on other planets. If a space dragon were to go land on another planet, I think a lot of people on that planet would really be freaking out. They'd be like, oh, what the heck? G-Turtle is here. Hey, hi. It kind of, so no worries, G-Turtle. Glad that you could make it. So I guess like one of the best way, like a good way of thinking about this is just imagine if like one day you just walk out your front door and a massive dragon that looks like it's got stars all over it just landed. And it was looking around and it's just all like, the great dragon god put humans on this world as well? Well, it's now time for you to serve me. Serve me well, humans, or I shall kill you. That's what it would be like. You'd just be like, what the heck? And these things got magic, which we're not equipped for. So yeah, sure, we've got big guns. We could probably, humans on Earth could probably kill one space dragon should it land, but just imagine so big and with magic could do, it'd just be bonkers. I says, I love the idea. I love the idea. I love it. There's this boss from Elden Ring, Night Rain, called Caligo. Oh, I've heard of Caligo. She is described as a witness to the events of the world, but during the events of the game, she noticed that time was different. I heard about this boss. I still need to play Night Rain. I'm so behind. Omega. So, what other impossible dragons are there in this world? Well, so let's see here. From beyond those two, let's see any others that I could say that wouldn't really go about ruining things. Let's see here. There's one impossible. I will say this: there's one impossible dragon that people don't believe exists, but he exists, and he will have the very last scene of the first book. So the impossible dragon that everyone thinks doesn't exist is the one it will close out the story. The very last part of the epilogue will be him. I know it's not exactly saying a whole lot, but I do not want to spoil who he is or what his entrance is like, because his entrance, if I can pull it off, it will be like one of those moments where you're just all like, no, you're like, Lars, I need the next book now. I need an explanation right now. And I'll just be like, second book, man. Second book. I'll say this. There's one dragon who I am wondering if I should classify him as an impossible or if he's just a very, very annoying red dragon. A dragon who will be called Phoenix. And he looks a lot like a phoenix. Feathery, burning, very bird-like, but obviously dragon. And he does not die. He just keeps coming back again and again and again and again and again. So it's something that would get him probably classified as an impossible, but he's very much a red dragon in terms of how he acts, his skill set and everything. So G Turtle says, sorry if I'm repeating stuff, but what is the storyline about? Well, thanks for asking that question. G Turtle, the story of Whitefire, which is what the Q&A is currently about, and the story that I intend to write the first full draft for next year. It's a next year project of mine. Whitefire is about a young woman, a young dragonborn woman, whose name is Whitefire, who is hired to go and save a dragon from another dragon. So, thou shalt go and save damsel from dragon guarded castle. Except in this case, it's a massive mountain fortress that this other dragon is being held captive at by other dragons. So Whitefire is given a nigh impossible task, which she takes because Thornbeard is working with one of her sworn enemies, a dragon whose name is Stormeye. Stormeye is the dragon who killed her father, who was a dragon. And so Whitefire takes on the job. She's going to go and she's going to save that dragon. That dragon is one of the other POVs. Her name is Silandria. Silandria is regarded as one of the most beautiful dragons in the entire world. Not only because she's got incredibly gorgeous orange and red scales that dazzle with the morning sun. She can absorb the light of the morning sun and she just becomes this radiant living gem. She also has god form. God form for dragons. So dragons have all different kinds of bodies, but the god form is an anthropomorphic dragon, meaning a dragon with human qualities. This is something like, so little brief tangent right here. This is something that's very difficult for dragonkind because the great dragon god was god form, hence why they call it that. A dragon with human traits. So standing upright like a human, arms and legs proportional to a human's, a neck that's much shorter. So very more human. Or if you want to put into something more maybe relatable, something you can envision better, like a D&D Dragonborn, but just massive, huge. That's the great dragon god. So dragons look down on humans because humans are weak. So they're weak. They've got no magic. They're short-lived. They're dumb. Humans they're talking mice. Mice. They're either vermin or very fun shows, or they can be useful depending on how you use them. This is how the dragons largely see humans. So it's strange because they don't like humans, but they really love the idea of looking like the great dragon god. Silandria is one of the few dragons on Draconia who's got god form. Her body is anthropomorphic. And so she's just, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. But not only that, she is one of the Serpentine Sisterhood. This is a group of all-female dragons who work to try to maintain peace throughout Draconia. Draconia has had multiple wars across its long history, and every time that dragons have really gone to war, it has been devastating. With all of their special abilities, with all of their magic, dragons can murder in the millions. Easily. The Serpentine Sisterhood has tried to avoid these big wars. Their greatest failure was the Kingbreakers War, which is a very important historical event that takes place, obviously, before the events of Whitefire. And Silandria is kind of the hope of the Serpentine Sisterhood. She is part of the next generation. She's a very young dragon, very beautiful, very well connected, very powerful dragon. And she's expected to be one of the eventual leaders of the Serpentine Sisterhood. So Thornbeard believes that if he can marry or force Silandria to marry him, to bond with him, that this will get him the guaranteed support of the Serpentine Sisterhood. He needs this, or so he feels, to become the 5th Dragon King. There are 4 Dragon Kings who rule in different corners of Draconia. He wishes to become the 5th. And he lusts for power. He wants to just be the greatest and the absolute best, but he's really just a bully. And so he's kidnapped Silandria, and he's trying to force her into a bonding. And so her point of view is how she resists this, and the magic and the schemes and the games that are played out as she's waiting for someone to rescue her. She knows that someone is coming to rescue her. She just doesn't know that it's Whitefire. So Whitefire is off to rescue her. The last main character in this is a young man by the name of Eric. He's a recent orphan. He's a young man, a human, whose family was killed in a territorial dispute between dragons after his dragon lord was murdered by another dragon. He doesn't know which dragon committed the murder. This dragon just showed up in a blur of blue, sliced off the head of his master, and then was gone. Without a dragon lord to support his home, other dragons descended, tore it apart, and killed tons of humans. So he's orphaned now. His family was killed in this territorial dispute between dragons after the death of his dragon lord. He's with a band of refugees off to get to the city of Lightfall, which is where Whitefire lives. Eric wants to become a dragonist. Dragonists are humans, usually. They can also, though, sometimes be dragonborn or even dragons. Dragonists are people who act as liaisons between the different races. They are people who study everything there is to know about dragons, everything there is to know about the world and magic and politics. And this way, then, they can be the mediators between all these different groups. And they can try to prevent wars. They can help to establish marital relations between different groups. They can help dragons out with economics. They can help dragons out with healing, with all different kinds of things. They can even act as assassins. Sometimes dragonists are kind of like the dragonists are like the Swiss Army knife of politician, effectively. So Eric believes that if he can become a dragonist, it will give him the skills and the connections that he needs to find the dragon who murdered his dragon lord and then get revenge. So he goes to Lightfall, and there he meets another dragonist who takes him under his wing, who also joins up with Whitefire. And he finds out, he's like, yes, I've got business here. He happens to be one of the dragonists who can operate as an assassin. And Whitefire's like, I need a very specialized group who's going to help me go after Thornbeard and complete this contract. We're going to kill him if we can, but our top priority is rescuing Silandria. And so this other dragonist is like, well, this boy's my apprentice now. And Whitefire's like, I really do not need someone who is untrained in this. He's like, don't worry, you'll be the absolute best. So while Silandria is trying to fend off Thornbeard while being a prisoner in his mountain fortress, you've got Whitefire leading the way alongside with Eric, his new dragonist master, Whitefire's own squire, who is studying to become a special kind of knight within the city of Lightfall. And they are also then accompanied by a dragon who is a member of the Dragon Slayers and is a close friend of Whitefire's. Another assassin, an old lady, who everyone's just like, who on earth are you? And then a representative of the dragon who hired Whitefire to rescue Silandria. And this particular character's name is Jonathan. Think a very eccentric, strange human who is blessed with all different kinds of dragon-touched items that give him access to all different kinds of spells, because humans do not instinctively have magic. They have no way of utilizing it unless a dragon gives them an item that grants them use of a spell. Jonathan is a walking arsenal of dragon touched items to go up against Thornbeard. So that's it. They got this group. They got to go rescue Silandria, and shenaniganery is going to ensue. So that's the plot of the first book. So thanks for asking that, G Turtle. Sounds really cool. Thank you. Would Whitefire be highly revered because she's a dragonborn, which I'm assuming would be anthropomorphic? So the dragonborn look human. The way that you can tell that someone is dragonborn is they're really tall. Like an abnormally short dragonborn is 6 feet. And that's like abnormally short. That's like a dwarf compared to it by dragonborn standards. Most dragonborn are easily 7 to 8 feet, even going up to 9 feet tall, perfectly proportioned, insanely handsome and beautiful. And their hair is the color and pattern of their dragon parents' scales. So they are the result of dragons and humans having relations. Now, because dragons almost universally, there are some dragons who respect humans, but most dragons really look down on humans. And so the idea of dragons and humans having children is really unnerving and unnatural to most dragons. So they normally would not stand for that. This puts Dragonborn into a very peculiar predicament because they are superior to humans, but they're also not human. So a lot of humans just don't know what to think of Dragonborn. Like, they're amazing. They look cool. They're so beautiful. They're so handsome. They got special abilities, but they're not human. And they are close with their dragon parents because, again, dragons absolutely love their children. And so it just seems unfair. So there'd be plenty of humans who would discriminate against the Dragonborn, and plenty of dragons who would discriminate against the Dragonborn because they're like, that's unnatural. Human and dragon? But there are enough Dragonborn out there that it's not uncommon. And that's actually one of the things that makes the prejudice of the dragons super hypocritical, because there are plenty of Dragonborn walking around, which means that there's lots of dragon and human relations going on. So, yeah. So there's a sense of hypocrisy right there, and that's one of the many things that motivates someone like Whitefire to fight against dragons, because she's like, this whole world is just so messed up. And it's just like these dragons must be taught a lesson that they can't just continuously look down on people. And I mean, that's very altruistic of her. Those are the kind words that she puts on, that she uses as a mask for her desire of revenge against Stormeye, for the murder of her father, Deathjaw. Wow, Dragonbound sounds so gorgeous. Well, thank you. That's my hope, to be able to get that across. Now then, I saw that plot twist: the planet is an impossible dragon that loves watching its funny little parasites. Oh, I love it. A giant draconic eye that watches the fight. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So she is the boss because she decided that this time she wanted firsthand experience in the passing of an age. And her boss arena has a giant eye in the background, a giant draconic eye to watch the fight. That is super cool. That's super cool. I really need to play Night Rain. So if dragons inherently love their children, they also inherently love their partners. So in the world of Draconia, the answer is no. Now, the way that this works, so if dragons decide, so dragons have two different levels of bonding. There is simply just mating. I really like you. A mattress mumbo time between dragons. And if we have babies, then we've got babies. And so the thing is that dragons, and this is one of the things that leads to the dalliances between dragons and humans, because for many dragons, it's easier to just kind of reject a human partner than it is to reject a dragon partner. So even for just casual mating, most dragons try to be very selective with their partner, meaning that they want to be with a dragon that they're compatible with, that they can get along with, they have shared interests, shared goals in mind, they want to have a family. And so yeah, sure. Mattress mumbo time, dragon babies, all the eggs in the nest. But there is another higher level as far as the dragons are concerned when it comes to bonding. And in that case, what they do when dragons really love each other, that they're just all like, like, babe, you're my one and only, for the next 1,000 years, just you. Those dragons, what they do when they decide to mate is they perform a very powerful spell that shares parts of their soul with each other. And so by doing that, those dragons that are bonded that way are completely linked to each other. From that time on, that person, that other dragon, or even that person, either a dragonborn or a human, because that bonding can happen with someone who isn't a dragon. They quite literally share a part of their soul. They can feel the emotions of their partner. They are able to always sense where the other one is and even have a sense of their well-being. And so it gives them a chance to have basically an instantaneous spiritual communication and understanding with each other. So that is incredibly special. It's also in a way kind of invasive. And so that kind of commitment is one that dragons do undertake. That's kind of like the big one that really, like, kind of how everyone wishes to have like that true love. Like, that's kind of what everyone wishes, at least within the dragon world. And there are plenty of dragons who have that special bond, but it's not all dragon couples, because they really, really have to love each other to feel like sharing part of their soul is the right thing to do. And it's impressed upon all dragons by their parents, like, do not do this unless you are absolutely committed, because once you've done this, you can't go back. That plays a role for a handful of dragons. Now, I'm not going to spoil one of the instances where that becomes very important, but I can share one instance, and that is with Dead Snout. So Dead Snout is bonded to two dragons, not by choice. So Dead Snout, the undead dragon that I was talking about earlier, the one who made the arrangement with the living giant skeleton of death, Dry Bones, Dead Snout fell in love with an angelic dragon, and she fell in love with him. So as weird as that is, undead dragon, angelic dragon, they fell in love, and they're all like, we're gonna bond. We're gonna go all the way. Share souls with each other. It's going to be the big deal. There was a demonic dragon who, when she found out about this, was like, well, I'm going to screw that up. And went, and they didn't mate. She and Dead Snout didn't mate. Instead, what she did, she performed the spell on him and committed what was seen as a tremendous taboo by placing part of her soul into him. And so he always senses her. And as a result, he is always drawn to her emotions, can feel what she's feeling, and it's just horribly invasive. And it's something that, like, it's just so wrong that again, almost no dragon would ever think of doing this because it's just so much. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why the bonding is treated very specially. And so like I was saying, in this case, dragons mate for life and cannot violate that bond. Yeah. If they go with that bond, they will not break that bond, which is why if anyone else should commit the taboo of forcing that bond on them or doing a double bond, it is that is something that all dragons and really anyone else who could conceive of the idea of sharing souls would just immediately recoil from. So that's so yeah, it kind of sad for Dead Snout. Man, my poor dragon Dead Snout. Dead Snout's a good character, but man, he's been through a lot. Yeah. Oh boy. G-Trail says, are there any other races other than dragons, human, dragonborns in this world? The answer is no. And I'll just say this. That's a clue. That's a very important clue. So yeah, don't go looking for fairies or orcs, elves, dwarves, centaurs, or something else. You won't find any of those in the story of Whitefire. But that's a good question. Thank you for asking. Charles asks, are impossible dragons like really powerful dragons? Yeah. They're effectively, so what makes an impossible dragon an impossible is that they just have so many more abilities than most other dragons. All dragons have access to magic, a breath weapon of some sort. They can have, it can be anything. They have a trait designated to their specific type, and then they usually have another ability on top of that. Impossible dragons are dragons whose bodies either are just so insanely weird, or they have so many abilities layered on top of one another that it's unfair. It's just latent. They don't need to worry about weaving spells. It just comes to them naturally. Whereas really, almost anything that an impossible dragon does, another dragon can do, but it requires that they perform a spell to do it. The more abilities you have, the less magic you need to expend, which in a fight is critical. And because if that magic reserve goes down, you're in trouble. Excuse me there. All right, I think I got enough voice left in me for, we'll say, 2 more questions. Give me 2 more questions. says the guy who said he was gonna keep it short. But man, I love answering questions because it's just I get to be in my story, man. So yeah, feel free to bombard me with 2 more questions. I'll answer them, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll call it a night. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. It gives me a chance to grab some more water. So, who is your personal favorite character? Oh boy. Oh, that's rough. That is a rough one. I think, man. Okay. Because I love so many of these characters. I'm going to have to go for right now with Whitefire. Oh, there's just so many great. I love Eric, even though he's such a naive idiot. I absolutely love the idea of Dark Knight and Scala Condor, but say Whitefire is probably the character I'll right now have to say is my favorite within the lineup of of the entire series. My reasoning for that is because she's one of the characters who goes through the most growth. Getting to see her from going from this despondent, almost feral, absolutely revenge obsessed killing machine to a person who rediscovers the meanings of family and of real friendship, of love, and so much of what she thought was going to be her future changes because of the experiences that she has along the way. And so we get to see someone go through a lot and become like I'll say this, she will never be like a Goku type character in terms of the lineup of the pantheon of all the characters I've written across my books. She would actually rank beneath so many of them in terms of capability and power, but it's her tenacity, what she does and what she learns along the way, that allows her to be as successful as she is. And so I hope that that's something that becomes. So I hope that all those qualities make her very relatable to my readers. And like I said, she is one of the big stumbling blocks to the series, because I absolutely want to make sure that I do right by who she is as a character. So thank you for asking that, man. That's a difficult question. There's one other character who I would say, actually, there's a couple of characters who I would say would probably also be my favorite, but that would be spoilers. So I won't say. I says, I don't want to waste a question, so I'll ask a 2-in-1. All right. What happens when the impossible dragons have offspring? And are there genetically mutated dragons that are not impossible dragons? Okay. So excellent questions right there. So to round off tonight, my answer to that is this. Impossible dragons, when they have offspring, and this actually goes for all dragons, it is a lottery of what you will get. So let's say that your typical dragon clutch is around 5 to 6 eggs. Within those 5 to 6 eggs, you can have a myriad of them. Typically you will find air, earth, fire, water, and spirit dragons is usually what you're going to get. There are a fair number of space dragons, and there's actually a fair number of impossible dragons as well. The big limit number, the real limit, are the angelic and the demonic, because there can only, again, ever be 12 angelic and 13 demonic at any given time. So the chances of there being more than that is just, it's not going to happen. Undead dragons are fairly rare, but it might still happen. So, like, as creepy as it is to think about this, you can have an undead dragon giving birth to an impossible, to a space dragon, to 2 earth dragons, and a water dragon. Boom, there you go. If an impossible dragon gives birth, they might not even give birth to an impossible. They might not even lay an egg that will hatch into an impossible dragon. And as far as the mutations go, it is almost impossible to have a mutated dragon on Draconia. The reason being is because all dragons are incredibly unique. The genetic code or the genetic makeup is not passed down from one generation to the other the way that you would think. So, like, let's say that one dragon, let's say that you have a father and mother dragon, one of which she's got frills all over her body that make her look like she's a massive, she's a massive wandering collection of mushrooms. The father dragon has got one big, almost unicorn horn head coming out, unicorn horn coming out of his head, and he's completely covered in black and red scales. These 2 dragons decide they want to have a family. Boom, they got a family. They've got 6 eggs. Within that, almost it would not be unheard of for all of those dragons to have nothing in common with their parents. They could be entirely different types, have entirely different bodies, different abilities, everything. And so now then, of course, this might be all like, so how do you know whose children are whose? It's really easy for the dragons because they immediately know. That instinct, that is my child. They have that. It is born into them. It is one of the gifts of the great dragon god given to all of his children, that the dragons know their children instinctively and have an immediate deep love for them. And so even though all of their children will look very different from them, it doesn't matter because they still love them. They still have that connection, that special bond. I have a funny impossible dragon idea. A dragon that is a mammal gets pregnant, otherwise entirely normal. Well, there are. Hold on to that thought, ISO. Hold on to that thought. Dragon randomizer. Let's get going. Nick says her amazing growth and evolution is as a character is her power. God bless her. Well, that's my hope. That is my hope. That is my hope to bring that across with Whitefire. So G-Troll says, sorry, I know you've already said 2 more, but this got me wondering. Does Whitefire have siblings? She has no siblings. She is an orphan. Whitefire is an orphan. She didn't have any siblings. She didn't have any other siblings either before her parents were killed. So there is that. So there is that response. You actually, if you want to see Whitefire as a young girl, you can read my book Tumble-Teller. Tumble-Teller is a prequel to Whitefire, but that's not told through Whitefire's perspective. That's told through a dragon's perspective, Miku Lyrian, who is an entertainer, a bard, or as they say on this world, a tumble-teller. So, there you have it. Woo! Man, I can definitely feel my voice. I should wrap this up soon. So, everyone, thank you so much for letting me have this Q&A because, again, sharing helps out with writing. It's really, really good to have people ask questions because it gets your mind rolling. Sometimes you might not have an answer. I got almost stumped right there with the question of like, which one is your favorite? Or sometimes with a world building question, you're all like, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. I'll roll with that. Or sometimes a question is like, I see a contradiction in what you're coming up with. Are you sure that you, and sometimes getting that is like, oh, thank you. I did not see that. Sometimes we're too close to our own story to see it, to see the contradictions, and we can easily miss something very critical and damning to the whole story. So again, sharing with other people is a great way to develop your stories, to develop your ideas, and you get those questions, you get that feedback, which honestly helps out a ton in the writing process. So you guys haven't just helped me, but I hope that by doing this, it gets you feeling more comfortable with sharing. And I also want to thank you, those of you from Rubens to ISO to Arts who shared your story ideas earlier, because I know it can sometimes be a bit embarrassing to share stories and your ideas in a public space, but it really, really does help out a whole lot. So thank you so much. And Lucid Star says, as a person that loves dragons, this is some cool stuff. Awesome. I absolutely love hearing that. That's one of the things I really, really want to do with Whitefire as a whole, is that I want people who read my books to say, those are incredible dragons. Just be like, that was like, I never thought of that. Or just say, this has made me want to go and like read another dragon book. This makes me want to draw dragons. This makes me want to do something with dragons. I want to hear that. The other thing I also want to hear is, I don't want to go to Draconia. I mean, there will be people who will want to go to Draconia, but Draconia is, if I do the job right, it will come across as a world that is incredible, where the dragons are amazing, and yet you'll be all like, that world is way too dangerous. I never want to step foot on that world, as cool as it sounds. It's like, it'd be like, That's asking a regular human to go into Jurassic Park knowing that they have no plot armor. That's how I want it. That's how I want it to feel. I says those are some amazing ideas in my dragon story. In my dragon story in the works, the dragons are actually mammals, not reptiles. Although there are reptilian dragon species, and humans made the mistake of calling them serpentine as a whole. That's some cool. That's some cool lore right there. So I actually really enjoy that. Meg says this was amazing as always, Mr. Lars. Thank you for giving us incredible dragon lore today. It was also very interesting and a ton of fun too. You and everyone here have incredible ideas. Keep it up, pals. Well, thank you so much. And it says the difference is that mammal dragons have more compassion and affection than the serpentine dragons, and the serpentine dragons are incredibly intelligent. Ooh. So yeah, again, this is just I want to read your guys' stories. I love this stuff. I love hearing your ideas and everything. Yeah, take a drink of water right there before I lose my voice. So, as I can feel my voice going, and you can probably hear it a little bit too, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you everyone so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you had a great time. You're able to learn stuff about Biosphere, talking about developing story ideas, talked a little bit about Deltarune, and thank you for letting me share some of the stuff from my story. And thank you so much for those of you who also shared your stories with me and with everyone else. You guys are awesome. And so I hope to see you guys soon in the next video. And until then, y'all, tschüss.